Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 288. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Matt.
Hey, what's up?
And Connor's here too.
I'm still here for at least one more week.
Oh, we're that close to you
I think so.
being recuperated from your alleged arm injury?
Next Saturday is the last weekend I have before I theoretically go back to work.
Yes. Well,
should all be going to plan.
when you get over this alleged injury after the alleged attack by the alleged dog, then
There was a dog.
it's just a shame Matt wasn't there to intervene.
Yeah,
Since Matt,
I would have.
since Matt intervenes with dog attacks, apparently, as we were just hearing.
It does absolute damage to your mental health, but I'll still do it.
I mean, it's only Connor, Matt. You could just let the dog.
Yeah, but then no, because then who do I have to talk sports with? You know?
I'm having a good day. My team won.
Yeah.
For we had 6 games without a win. I think it was like 5 draws and a loss. And we're not in great form, so we're a bit like and then we won 4-1 today, and that felt good.
Well, I'm glad your cricket team did well today.
I don't have a shit about cricket. Although I'm pretty sure the England are playing cricket at the minute.
Actually, I did have a random thought about cricket, and this is a little weird for me.
Whoa.
What?
You had a thought about
I have a question about cricket. I don't want too much elaboration. I just want a simple.
if I can answer.
I want a simple answer to this. It occurred to me that I don't actually know if there's such a thing as like a cricket league, because all I ever hear about is England and Australia playing cricket. I never hear about teams that play cricket. That
is a good question. I only know of international cricket. I don't know about leagues.
No, I mean I know there must be, because there's a cricket ground near me.
But if there isn't, then what are these cricket players doing the rest of the time?
Well, when the NHL was getting started, even up until the 50s and 60s, those dudes still had day jobs and were also professional hockey players. So there's a very good chance that your local investment banker is also a pro cricketer.
Yes, this is what I thought. They play in, rather than cities or towns like most sports, because there's not enough essentially cricket teams.
Mm-hmm.
They play in counties.
All right, because it occurred to me that I've never heard of, I don't know, the Manchester Munchies or something. Well, I don't know, whatever the team would be.
No, the Manchester Cricket League, right? Or cricket team.
My local team, which is actually a local team, because I know for a fact they play near me, because I know there's a cricket stadium not that far from me. I've been there. Is the Yorkshire team. So there's Yorkshire and it's like counties like that. Yeah, Yorkshire, Warwickshire.
Oh my god!
So
they're trying to get a cricket league going up here in the U.S. It's never gonna work.
George, they should call them the Yorkshire Yankees and just take the American baseball names and just apply them to all the cricket teams.
Oh no! There's the Golden State Grizzlies.
Anyway, this is a DC Comics podcast. We get together, we talk about DC Comics every week.
And apparently cricket now, because that's multiple weeks.
I just had this thought. It's probably because you were talking about it last week. I had this thought that I've never heard of a cricket team before.
And probably because even though you don't pay attention, but there are England games on at the minute, you've probably just seen something on the corner of your eye on Twitter or a news website.
Definitely not. That's not a thing. So, coming up on this week's show, it is a very light week for books overall. We have Detective Comics 1048, Batgirls issue 2, Robin and Batman issue 3, and parts of Batman Urban Legends from some of us. So, that's coming up.
Which some of us, Pete?
The less important people in the podcast. I.e., not me.
I say if P wasn't responsible for recording and editing and uploading, I would argue. But you can't say he's not important.
In context of the existence of the show.
Yeah.
Yes. In context of his opinions.
You're right. I think me and Connor hold this down on the opinion side.
Yeah, we got this.
Uh-huh.
We actually read the books.
Hey, guess what?
I only had 4 books and still didn't read that one.
Guess what? I didn't read Justice League and Legion. Do you know how hard that was for me?
Oh, I forgot that existed.
There was a bit.
Yeah.
There was a question I was asked this week: is no one reading Justice League versus Legion?
Mhm.
And I was like, I mean, Matt's the only question there. He's the only one that might.
Will I eventually? Maybe. Right now, no.
And also, just to attack on, Connor also had a Patreon book as well, Undiscovered Country. So that's coming up.
It was a quiet week. I thought, let's do it now while there's nothing else.
Yeah. So not a lot of books, but we do have a couple of interesting things. So there was the audience vote for the best of 2021. So I'll give you those results in a bit. And yeah, there's this one interesting bit of news as well.
I don't know if I agree that it's interesting.
Even if you think it sounds terrible, it's not interesting as news.
Mm.
It isn't. X book gets delayed for 2 weeks.
It doesn't. We talked about this in our chat, and yeah, I don't know. It's important. It was a definitely what the hell kind of announcement.
Well, no, I did not say important. I said interesting.
Interesting. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting for sure. But yes.
So that's all coming up. But don't worry, there's always time for a ComiXology top 10.
Shoot, I only have the
Is it
DC
X-Men?
up. Hold on, I'm getting them all up. Give me a second. I only had DC up, so now I can guess.
What Xbox was this week? Or which 3 Xbox were this week?
I'm looking for. I mean, they don't all say X-Men across the top.
No,
so I have
you're
to
looking
Most of them don't.
Yeah.
Inferno,
I'm gonna guess-
Marauders, Excalibur.
I'm gonna guess. Yeah, I'm gonna guess Marauders.
Marauders
27
27 is number 1 right now on ComiXology.
There we go. We
That's
got
the
it.
Kitty
It was
Pryde book.
X-Men.
I only know that much. That's the Kitty Pryde book.
That's Kitty
Yeah.
Pryde is a pirate, which
Yes.
weirdly is kind of cool.
Yeah. You should read it, Connor, on Unlimited, and let us know how it is.
I could.
You could.
I
Yeah.
could.
And then
Will I?
report back.
So what is particularly annoying? There's 2 Xbox coming up that I really want to read. That are Gillen and Ewing doing.
Yeah, Al Ewing's doing
Xbox.
an X-Men book. Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing an Xbox set on Mars, I believe.
Yeah, it's X-Men Red, but it's nothing to do with Tom Taylor's X-Men Red.
It's red because it's the Red Planet. It's a good way of getting the name in, I suppose. And then I think Gillen's taking over essentially the main line, or the headline book of the line. I'm like, God damn, I want to read it. But it's still very much Age of Krakoa, all the infographics kind of scattered throughout the middle of the page, the middle of the books, like they have done in the entire Hickman era. And I'm like, I'd have to read all of it. I'd have to read the entire Hickman era.
Yeah.
But it is all there, and I'm not paying any more for it.
No,
So I mean, I could.
Let me know when the X-Men are back to being superheroes.
The sad part is that I just, even though I was excited when I heard that Ewing was doing an X-Men book, I was like, well, it's still part of all this continuity. I kind of need to wait for a reset of some kind before I can...
that's what I want.
Or read everything now. You've got
Yeah, that's not happening. I'm not reading all the Hickman X-Men stuff.
You know what was good? Jason Aaron's Wolverine and the X-Men. Or is half superhero stuff, half school stuff. That's what I want in an X-Men.
I'll read it if you do.
What?
All of Hickman's Terrible X stuff.
No, why would I do that? I don't care if you read it.
You like making me suffer.
Hey, you want to make Pete suffer real quick?
No,
and talk about Kieran Gillen Star Wars stuff real quick?
Oh God, no! Shut up.
Should, because
I did not realize Black Chrysanthemum, the Wookiee bounty hunter. For the longest time, I thought that was a Jason Aaron creation. Someone tried to give him credit, and he goes, "Nah, that was
Gillen. It was in the first issue of Gillen's Vader." And
yeah,
I believe, I could be wrong, but I can't think of any other examples. So anyone, not Pete because he won't know, but anyone else, feel free to correct me. I think Black Chrysanthemum being in Boba Fett is the first comic book character to be in a live action format of the Disney era. Like,
I believe so too.
Which
Iron Man.
Some of them have like crossover with like books and whatever, but shut up, Pete.
Hey, did you just yell Iron Man?
I think he did.
What he just said is that this dude, whoever it is the first Marvel comic character to be in a live action thing in the Disney era.
I never said the word Marvel comic thing. I said the first comic character to make the jump in Star Wars. Clearly,
Yeah, but you didn't say Star Wars, so technically Iron Man counts.
Jeez. Anyway,
I don't know if that's true. What? Because Disney didn't own Marvel.
No,
Technically, yes. Technically, the first thing they distributed, I believe, was Avengers. I want to say.
Well, that was a joint with Paramount because Paramount still had
I think Paramount.
before.
I think Paramount just they legally still have
just
to have the
slapped their
logo.
logo on.
Yeah, but
Right.
I don't think they
Okay.
actually did any of the distribution.
I think
Okay.
that was the first Disney movie as well. I
Yeah.
believe so. So who was the first character that appeared on screen in that movie?
Avengers.
Loki
No,
Fury or Hawkeye.
No, 'cause the very first
Maria
shot.
Hill?
No, isn't the very first shot of it? Isn't there like some weird stuff? It's Wesley from Angel, the spin-off of the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He's an alien and he's talking to Thanos, I think. Isn't there like a weird shot of the stairs
that's right.
at the start?
That's teasing the Shatari.
Yeah.
Is he a comic character originally? Like
I don't believe
specifically
so.
him?
No, so he's a new creation, so he wouldn't count. Okay, fair enough.
Right.
Well, in that case,
Then it's a Shield agent. But which one?
It could be Hawkeye, it could be Fury, it could be Maria Hill, it could be any of those that were kind of around at the start of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen the movie in far too long, so I can't remember the specifics.
you
but
definitely see Nick Fury before you see Hawkeye.
Yeah, because you see him coming down the hall in his big coat, and Hawkeye slides down, so you see Fury first. But do you see Hill before you see Fury?
You may see them at the same time because they might walk up
Yeah.
together at the helicopter.
Right. Right.
I'm willing to say, by the arguments of this,
Probably
yeah,
Nick Fury. It's probably Nick
this
Fury.
logic. Yeah, Nick Fury is the first live action adaptation
Which-
of a comic book character in
Although-
the Disney Marvel era.
Although they only distributed this movie. It was already in production before Disney bought Marvel.
That's what I was
Okay.
making the argument, Pete.
So you'd have to like work out what was the first one that wasn't even in production yet when they made that purchase.
Does anyone know off the top of their head?
I know, but you could roughly
No.
timeline it. But I have to assume some of Phase 2 was already kind of gearing
Yeah.
up.
Which was the first one without the Paramount logo?
Or probably whatever's
Well,
after Avengers. Or maybe,
right.
maybe after
Was it-
Iron Man 3. I don't know if Iron Man 3 had it.
Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to bring up Black Chrysanthemum because he's super rad, and he's a I wouldn't call him evil, right? But he's a bad Wookiee. So that's
Oh, he's
pretty
a
cool.
Wookiee. Oh, news to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, ComiXology top 10. Oh, yeah.
Final bit on that. Disney acquired Marvel in 2009, and
Mhm.
Avengers was 2012. So it can't have been long after that movie.
True. Yeah, okay.
So to spin this all back around, there is a slight potential that it was Iron Man after all.
Well, because that was
Iron
already
Man
under
3
the
came
MCU.
next, right?
Yeah, that was already the MCU because Feige was responsible for Iron Man, wherever he was working at the time.
Oh, yeah, no,
So-
it's still part of the MCU, but what we're debating
Yeah.
is that when the
Well,
transition
under Marvel.
happened.
But that's what I mean. I'm talking MCU, the Marvel, whatever, Marvel films is what I meant to say. Because that didn't exist yet until post Avengers, right?
No, I think it technically did.
This is a lot of time spent on Marvel for a DC show.
Yeah, that's just
I
back to the comics.
apologize.
That's
Wait,
not
no,
our
I started
fault.
this.
Hey, Warner, start making good movies that we want to talk about, and then we'll spend the time.
I think in Warner's very slight defense, we did spend about half an hour talking about Batman, the
Before.
upcoming Batman movie, just before we started recording.
Yeah. So, I'd rather watch that trailer a bunch of times again before I watch Eternals, so. Yeah.
mean. But you're not
How
on.
many times would you have to watch it to match the same runtime?
I mean, it's what, a 3-minute trailer?
Yeah.
That's like 2 hours 40.
A lot. Peach would have to watch it on repeat for 2 hours 40 and see which one he'd prefer to watch by the end of it.
40, 50. Over 50. It's over 50 times.
Yeah.
Oh. All right, back to the ComiXology top 10. So number 1 was Marauders, number 27. Number 2 is Amazing Spider-Man, issue 85. Number 3 is Star Wars, issue 20. Number
See, we could have waited until Star Wars came up.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
okay.
well, tough
You
time.
brought up Gillen.
Number 4 is Critical Role's book, issue 3.
Hmm.
the tail's cut off. So I can't be
I believe
arsed.
there's a Critical Role animated show coming to Amazon at the end of the month that even though I've never watched anything Critical Role and have no interest in actually watching them play, which I know is the main appeal. The animated show looks kind of all right.
I think I'm not against the idea of Critical Role. I think I am much more interested in checking out actual Critical Role than I am checking out an adaptation of their campaign that they did in Critical Role.
That's fair.
But anyway, I mean, that's whatever. Number 5 is Detective Comics 1048, which I want to say last week it was might have been the exact same placement. it was right around the same part of the page, maybe number 4.
That means it's consistent.
Yeah, it's consistent. Yeah, I mean, give it that. Then number 6 is Dark Ages issue 4, a Marvel book. Number 7.
It's a Tom Taylor book though.
I know. Number 7 is Fantastic Four issue 39. Number 8 is The Department of Truth issue 15.
So good.
Number 9 is Daredevil Woman Without Fear issue 1 of 3. It's a miniseries. Do we know what this is? Is this
It's tying into the current run.
Oh,
Yeah.
is it? Okay.
I don't think it's really spoilers at this point to say, given that it's been on a lot of like the covers of the last handful of issues for a while now. Elektra has been Daredevil.
I was going to guess it was Elektra, but you already said it.
Yeah.
So.
Again, I don't think that's really spoilers at this point, given that.
I mean, she is carrying a sai, not a billy club, so that's your first clue. Also, the very long black hair.
And also, this series exists. I don't think it can really count as a spoiler anymore.
And also, I mean,
true.
It is a woman. If it was still a man with the sai, I'd have been guessing Raphael. But you know,
that's not a man. That's a turtle.
Turtle Without Fear.
Turtle Without Fear. That's a great title, though. They should make it called.
They need to. I mean, the TMNT are tied to Daredevil. You know, it was the same goop that took Nat's vision that gave them.
And you've already got ninjas kind of built in, right?
I mean, that's why it was the foot.
Yeah, the Foot Clan.
The hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The foot and the hand can team up.
Yeah, and although I'll say this, the foot way better than the hand. I'm just going to put that out there.
That's only because your only involvement with the hand was the TV show, but the hand in the comic is pretty.
I'm sure they've popped up in a comic I've read, but maybe not to a great extent.
They brought Wolverine back from the dead. That's pretty cool.
I always enjoy it. Yeah, but the foot have got Shredder as their leader.
But they're robots. They're not ninjas. They're robots.
Oh, robots.
I mean, I'm going off of the cartoon logic. I haven't read a Turtles comic in a very long time. Are they actual ninjas in the comics?
I believe so. And the live action movies, they were definitely humans. So
maybe they were teenage kids that wanted to play an arcade.
They were trained by Shredder.
Yeah,
they were still ninjas. And then number 10 is Star Wars Bounty Hunters issue 20. So only one DC book in the top 10, which is a little bit dire. But to be fair, not a lot of DC books this week, and most of them do come quite quickly after that. Number 11 is Justice League versus Legion of Superheroes.
Kind of glad that didn't make the top 10.
Number 13 is Batgirls. Number 15 is Joker. 16 Robin and Batman. 17 Batman Urban Legends. So the rest of them are all like next.
Yeah, and those last couple that are towards the bottom are significantly higher priced than a lot of the books, so it makes sense that they're lower down.
Yeah. So, nothing that concerns me, but it is a shame to have a week where there's only the one DC book in the top 10.
Yeah.
But
it'll be interesting to see if Tech 1050, which is an oversized issue, and it's the end of Act 1 of this weekly story, will be any higher.
I suspect. Well, it may be higher because they'll probably do some special variants and things. So, maybe not in ComiXology.
That won't affect digital, though, will it?
Yeah. We'll expect ComiXology, but I suspect that digitally speaking, it'll probably just be consistent, just because it's the middle of a story, regardless of any special numbering. Which I like, because they're showing the cover off at the back. When they're
the 4-part connecting variant. Yeah,
looks very nice. But so there you go. That's a ComiXology top 10. And as for a little bit of news, do I have the article up? Oh, I do have the article up. I was prepared. Oh my.
Exchange.
So I want to invite the audience into just a little bit behind the curtain here. I want to say how I discovered this story. Matt sent a message to our group chat yesterday or the day before, whatever day it was.
I was at the gym, to be fair. That's why there was a big gap in between.
And simply just said something to the effect of, how do you guys feel about the phrase Flashpoint Batman?
Flashpoint Beyond.
Oh, sorry, Flashpoint Beyond. Yeah, sorry. Flashpoint Beyond. And I think I was having a nap or something when he first sent this, and I woke up and saw this and just sort of went, not great, Matt. Not great.
You've never been more Larry David than you were in that moment.
I'm just looking at my response was,
so, and then Matt's like, but John's, and I'm like, wait, what? What's happening? What's going on? What is this?
Connor, who actually read the article, so I'm only reading the headlines as they're coming across my Twitter as I'm in between sets, right? And then after the gym, I go to the grocery store. I'm going around, forgetting things, having to go back, and I keep periodically checking our chat. And it starts to get progressively worse because Connor actually read the article.
Yes, how dare one of us do some due diligence on a story?
Right. Yeah, so Connor, you want to fill everybody in on
we should stop and say this exists. Yeah.
Well,
this is a real thing.
For the record, I didn't really say much after my initial response because I said F this and went back to sleep. So...
I mean, for the record, I did not go back to sleep because this was going on at around 5 p.m. our time. And I keep
you know the hours that Pete keeps though.
Yeah, yes. I'm not going to pretend I keep a good sleep schedule, but I was awake at 5 p.m.
How about you bite me? Okay, so this is going to be a mini-series, getting a double-sized issue 0 and then a 1 through 6, so it's a 7-issue mini-series.
2 issues a month.
It's every other week, as they put it in the article, yeah. Or at least it's every other week from issue 1 onwards. I don't know if issue 0 lines up with that exactly, but...
Well, it starts on April 5th and ends on June 21st, so you could work that out.
I'm not going to, but yeah, you could work it out. So
I didn't say you will work it out. I said you could.
So, yeah, this is going to be a meta story, and if you look at the preview page they've got in the article here in Newsarama, you literally see like 5G averted written on something, and it's like, okay, all right,
yeah,
we're going full hog with this. Obviously, we get Flashpoint and Batman starring in this. Johns is there for issue 0, but then he is only co-writing the remaining 6 issues, and we have Jeremy Adams, who's the current writer on Flash, which I think is a decent enough book. There was one dodgy issue, but I've had a decent enough time with it. I know Matt's thinking of catching up, so...
I wasn't a big fan. I bounced. I gave it a good few issues, to be fair. Didn't enjoy it.
Don't get me wrong, the other name that's co-writing some of these issues is a bit more concerning to all of us, I think, and that is it was Sheridan, the man who's on Titans Academy and
that Shazam mini.
That Shazam mini, and there was another one, right? I feel like maybe there wasn't. I don't know. Maybe I
don't know. I just ignore everything with his name on at this point.
Oh yeah, oh, I can't really argue with that.
And what is maybe slightly concerning is Tim Sheridan seems to be the one doing the press rounds. He's the one doing the interviews.
Yeah, so this is like weirdly cruel in that, like, on some level, of course, as DC fans, we were always going to get at least a little bit excited Jeff Johns comic again, just because he's got enough cred DC Comics wise that you kind of look into it. And so to hear that it's returning to Flashpoint and Batman in this weird meta story, but then also that, he's actually just co-writing, and we've got a B-lister and then like a D-lister like filling in the rest of the writing duties. Like,
I will give them credit that they have good artists. So you got Eduardo Risso doing the 0 issue, who did the Flashpoint Batman miniseries back in the day.
Which was the best miniseries that tied into Flashpoint.
Well,
it was.
And Rizzo
and that's a nice
teams with Azzarello a lot. So, that's who
big
did
fan
that.
of his art. And the remaining 6 issues are drawn by Zamaniko, who we're all pretty big fans of.
Oh yeah, Zamaniko's great. So yeah, all look good. No denying it's going to look good, and there's no denying I'm going to try it, if not read all of it, just for the art.
I could not be less enthusiastic about this book existing, though.
Have I ever told you that I have all of Flashpoint? Not the miniseries.
Yes, you mentioned this in the past.
But every single... And guess what? I can't get rid of it because nobody wants it.
I saw someone on Twitter, I don't know who, because I don't even follow them. It was just a suggested tweet for me because Twitter's new algorithm is...
I hate it.
Really aggressive. But it was someone saying, do people realize Flashpoint isn't actually good and people just like the Flashpoint animated movie? And I think that's maybe a fair point, but also I don't even think it was that it's good. I think it's that it's important. Because I think we will all agree Flashpoint was an important story for the sake of continuity, for the sake of, okay, this led into New 52. And obviously that is not necessarily a good thing.
It is
but
shaped.
Regardless, it's important for the industry.
12 years of DC Comics. Even someone like Barry Allen, because they took things that happened in Flashpoint and made it part of his character for the last 12 years.
Yeah, Flashpoint, honestly, I don't think Flashpoint's that bad an event. Honestly, the main thing I dislike about Flashpoint is that it leads into New 52. If Flashpoint ended and it just went back to the DC universe as it was, I think it'd be a fine little Barry Allen event.
Here's the thing. I don't think it's bad. I don't want to give that, but I don't think it's like great. It's fine. It's a perfectly fine event that would be probably forgotten if it didn't have monumental consequences on a publishing level, as opposed to just, it affected the story for a little bit.
Yeah, and that one really good Batman mini tie-in.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah.
Right.
And the Superman one by Snyder wasn't terrible.
The Superman one was, I mean, it wasn't as good as the Batman one, but it did have its moments, yeah.
No, it wasn't anything as bad as like the Amazons and Aquaman.
I did buy and read a lot of the Flashpoint tie-ins. I didn't read all of them, though. There was definitely some that I just wasn't interested in. But I read the Hal Jordan mini. I think I read the Ab and Sur one. I think I read, some of the other ones. Mm-hmm. Probably the Dick Grayson one.
Yeah, but like, as a Jeff Johns event, it's probably on my lower. Like, let's say his big three are Flashpoint, Blackest Night, and Infinite Crisis. It's definitely in the third spot.
It's
out of those for me.
The sad part is I know some people would like to compare this, right, to James Cameron just want to do Avatar movies now. I don't like that comparison.
I don't see how that's the same.
Well, it's similar in the sense that I think people are disappointed that Cameron's finally coming back to do a movie and he's just doing Avatar movies now.
He created Here's the thing,
but it's the idea. No, just let me finish my point. So it's the idea that Jeff Johns is coming back, but he's just coming back to do more Flashpoint stuff. Like, I think someone could compare that. I would fight against it a little bit, and I think James Cameron's going to prove all these people wrong because the man's a genius.
He's going to make 4 more mediocre movies like the last one.
Here's the thing, Pete. I'll poke a needle at you about that, but whatever. But like, James Cameron still created an entire alien culture. Of course, he wants to play in that sandbox he created.
Oh yes.
I don't blame him for that. And I'm not a huge Cameron fan, so if that's what he wants to do, cool. Like, I'm glad he gets to do that. But I wouldn't compare Johns because Johns is done. Like, he came back into Doomsday Clock, which we all loved, right? I mean, the issues that Conrad
just before we get away from James Cameron,
I read all of them.
Just before we get away from James Cameron, one point, The Abyss is going to 4K later this year. Delighted about that news. Thank you very much.
I'll probably actually finally watch the movie because I've been putting it off for over a decade because it didn't exist in a reasonable format.
Right.
So
me too.
That's just great news. I just want to put that out there because I've been waiting for like 15 years for this news. So.
But I could see that comparison if that's all John seemed to want to write was Flashpointy things, because that's all Cameron is focused on right now is his Avatar world. Which again, I understand. He put a lot of work into that one. Like, literally
just gone and written something original over Image.
Right, Tiger. Exactly. So like, that's just not even a on top comparison. I mean, I feel like Johns is just retreading his old stuff, right? Like reading through the Stargirl comic, watching the first season, and then seeing that the Spring Break special is all about the Seven Soldiers. I feel like there's always a Seven Soldiers story he wanted to tell that he never got to.
Level with you right now is I don't think Johns even cares about this particular story, and I'm not saying that because I think Johns, anything bad against him, but I think we've got Justice League Incarnate right now. Flashpoint Batman is pretty heavily featured in that. He's been kind of featured since
Dr. Batman.
Sure, Dr. Batman.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they use that name once in this article.
No.
So I don't think that's sticking. But
It's gonna stick for me.
he's been, I mean, since the Button brought him back quite a few years ago now, he's kind of been we had him in the Button, we had him later in King's Run, and then we had him in, some, recent stuff. It feels like an editorial push for wanting that. And it feels like, to me at least, to give it legitimacy as we can do this is let's get John's back for the first issue so we can sell it on John's name, as opposed to John's coming to them with
it feels like a stunt because that's why he's not writing the whole thing on his own. The reason why it's kind of like this was before we started recording, but like talking about like stunt directors being brought in to, and when I say stunt, I don't mean like a stunt director as in they do stunts. I mean a stunt director, and you get a big name director to do your first episode of your TV show, so you can sell it as this show's directed by so and so. But yeah, they're there for one episode, then they leave, and then other people try and mimic their style for the rest of it. That's maybe what this is more like.
Well, and I also feel like with Johns, when it comes to DC continuity, that's a thing that he really loves. So I feel like to revisit that and to, talk about 5G being averted and all this other stuff, I do feel like he at least has some ideas, or maybe this was all stuff that was left behind from scraps that he had, from before or whatever. But he's not doing the full thing, so you really it really does feel like a stunt.
Yeah, I don't get the impression that he's come with this. He's passionate about this story that he's come up with, and he's begged DC. Now that Didio's gone, please can I tell this story? I don't get that feeling at all. It feels like they've come to him and gone, look, can you write this first issue? We'll slap your name on it. We'll pay you this much. Is
it just me, or does this feel really inconsequential as well? It feels like this is not going to lead to anything or be important to the grand scheme of things.
No, I also feel like they're trying to capture, from what we've heard about rumors of the Flash movie, I really feel like they're trying to get some synergy going, and we might have an appearance of Flashpoint.
I never even thought of this, but you're right. The fact that
trade of this would come out later in the year.
We're getting a Flashpoint movie, and they're doing a comic that's got Flashpoint in the title. You know what?
Yeah. That's what I feel like they're doing, and Johns is the original name that did it, so of course they'll try to pull him and in there. But it definitely feels like synergy.
We keep complaining about how the first ever Flash movie is filled with all these guest stars because they don't believe in the character enough, and it's really frustrating and annoying. But it's really funny to me that the comic that they're producing is a sort of cash grab to tie into the movie doesn't even have the freaking Flash in it.
Right.
Well, at least not it may show up, but he's not in a starring role. They've barely mentioned him in this, if they have mentioned him at all in the article.
Right. And that's just kind of the problem that I have with Warner Brothers handling of the movies right now, is it seems like only one character matters, and because that's the character that turns money over. So
and
it's a good reason for them to matter, admittedly.
I understand. I'm not going to argue with that. I just
story, because I don't know how much if you've read the actual thing.
No.
Batman's hunting after a new serial killer called the Clockwork Killer.
The Clockwork Killer.
But it says it'll have a lot to do with the. It mentions specifically possibly the two worst parts of the original Flashpoint story, at least in my opinion. Uh-huh. The Aquaman stuff and the Wonder Woman stuff are both going to be returning elements, and those were two of the most mediocre elements for me.
Yeah, that feels yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't describe them as two elements, because if I remember correctly, they were at war. So I would sort of describe that as one big thing.
Sure, two elements in the sense of there were two different characters. It was the take of each of those characters. So it was two elements. So it was the Aquaman and then the take on Aquaman and the take on Wonder Woman. Yes, they were tied together in a story, but they had their own thing as well.
Yeah. Speaking of movies, though, I do think it's worth I don't know if did you guys see earlier today the Batgirl outfit was posted?
I saw it last night.
Yeah, it was last night. Yeah.
So whatever it happened. Yeah. Look, time is an illusion, okay?
That's only because you sleep at stupid hours, like 5 p.m.
Time is an illusion, and whatever. Do you know what? It looks very authentic for what it's going for, but unfortunately for me, it's going for the Burnside look, and I don't like the Burnside costume.
But as much as I don't like the Burnside era, the suit itself, I feel this is also playing off of the Yvonne Craig, 60s Batman.
I was going to say, because it's the darker purple as opposed to the bright purple of those, of that run.
Right.
This is that deep purple. It's closer to that.
Yeah, and it's not that like single-breasted, like almost tunic kind of look. It actually just looks like a motorcycle jacket.
I will say, one, I'm not surprised that this is the outfit they chose to adapt. Yeah. I don't necessarily think the story will adapt any of that, or even stylistically it'll be tonally that. I think it's one of the easiest costumes to adapt. And two...
I hate it. I don't care. I hate it.
Well, hang on. Two, I will be shocked if this isn't just the first.
No, you're probably right.
She makes herself, and there's another one later.
She'll probably get one from Bruce at the end that's more, professional and whatever, right? That makes sense, right? It's kind of like Spider-Man getting Tony Stark to give him some fancy outfits. What I will say though is what I really don't like about it, and what I especially don't like about it in live action, is that it looks like it belongs on the CW. Because one of the things I hate about the Flash outfit and some of the other ones in the CW is they have this they look like Flash's outfit a lot of the time on the CW show, and they've changed it as times went on, so it looks less like this now. But for a long time, it had this kind of feel like it was really just like a motorbike jacket that had a cowl, and it looked like a loose fit. It didn't feel like a superhero outfit. It felt like someone had converted something for cosplay purposes. So, and I get that the whole point of Batgirl's Burnside outfit is that it's meant to be a bit more like, lo-fi, and she did it herself and whatever. But I don't know. The jacket looks never done it for me.
I think it's fine. I like the color.
I don't mind it. I think I wouldn't have minded if the yellow popped a little bit more. I think I don't know if it's just the lighting of this picture, maybe, but the gold trim is a bit muted for me. I prefer it popped a little bit more. But overall, I mean, I don't hate it.
The reason for that, I think, is because the outfit's otherwise quite dark, is that you run the risk of the symbol and potentially, well, she's not wearing yellow gloves in this, I don't think, but she's got the boots on.
She's got the yellow boots, and there's yellow on the inside of the cape.
Yeah.
Which admittedly is brighter for the cape.
But the worry is that the yellow highlights of the outfit will pop more than her face, and you want her face to be the part of your eye goes to.
I get that.
You see her.
I get it. Like, in terms of if you're making this as a movie, you have to take those things into consideration as opposed to just let's design an outfit, right? Honestly, I think it looks good for what it is. Whether or not that's your taste is a different. The
sad part is the best Batgirl outfit on screen currently is still the flashbacks from that awful Birds of Prey TV show where they had Lemire. Because I don't know if you know this, but what they did for that is they actually took the Batgirl outfit from Batman and Robin. They got it, they got that outfit, but they replaced the boots and the gloves with yellow, and made it look like an actual Batgirl outfit, and it looks pretty good. What's the Batgirl?
I'm gonna look this up right now.
I just search Dana Meyer Batgirl. I'm sure you'll get photos of it.
I don't have massively strong opinions on this because it's at the end of the day.
I think it looks good.
I don't mind that much. Really, I'm not. I'm over nitpicking over costumes, kind of it looks fine. It looks like a Batgirl. It looks. Like
I'll give you a hot take. Riddler's outfit's better.
No, hard disagree. This still looks like. Take away the question mark on the Riddler, and you're like, oh, who's this serial killer?
The question mark's all you need. One question mark, and then bim, bang, boom, that's Riddler.
I you still look at this and know this is Batgirl. I like the purple and yellow color scheme. It's just the motorcycle jackety-ness of it's a little bit weird. But yeah. Not better than the Riddler. Come on. That is a
once again proving he has no taste.
That is a Pepper X level.
I just knew that would piss you. Everyone's complaining about the Riddler's outfit in the new Batman movie. I just knew it would upset you.
I do like this, but I am surprised to see that there's a lot of people that aren't high on the Burnside era. I thought that was just us because I thought that was I think it's a
generational thing. I think it's very popular with people.
Zimmers.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've read the Burnside stuff. I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's not my favorite era.
I mean, I dropped after an arc. I didn't like it at all.
I read it all. I think it's perfectly decent. I would, if you slap the omnibus in front of me now and said, read it, I go, yeah, sure.
Mhm.
I wouldn't hate my time with that. But, I'm not, none of us really, I don't think, are the target audience of that book. It aimed at a younger audience. And
I also prefer my Babs as Oracle.
I do as well, ultimately.
Not, so her suited up and stuff is still something to get used to. But
it's
that
been a
was
decade
just,
at this point, right?
Yeah, it was
just have accepted it.
When she moved to Burnside and it was all the hipstery stuff, it didn't feel like Babs. That felt like more it was a Steph story that they,
I think if you take that exact book and change the name, not even to Steph, just change it to a different like just a new Batgirl,
right,
I think it would have been even significantly more well received by people.
Yeah. So
well, this is the thing. You do this thing, and the example I always bring up for this is Resident Evil, actually, because Resident Evil has this problem where you've got old school fans like me who loved the early days of Resident Evil, and then they reinvented the wheel with Resident Evil 4. So then you have fans that were made by Resident Evil 4 who want Resident Evil 4, 5, and not really 6, everyone hates 6, but 6 is at least in theory like those games. And then you have the first person Resident Evil games that go back to horror, and that creates a new set of fan base for it. So they're in this predicament now that every time a new Resident Evil game gets announced, 2/3 of the audience, give or take, are disappointed with what version they're going with because it won't please all the fans of it. So it is, and this is true for some comic book characters, but like in this case with Batgirl, and even just Batgirl as a whole, if you're including her, but I just mean Barbara Gordon. There's going to be groups of people who are like, no, we don't want Burnside. But then there's going to be other groups of people who are like, no, Burnside is exactly the one we want. Burnside's is the Batgirl for us.
They're never going to please everyone, right? Like it's physically impossible. So they might as well pick their take and do it. If they're going for Burnside, go for it.
I think the problem is though is that I've been so burned by DC comic movies over the past decade that I want pandered to, you bastards. Like, give me what I want.
You're literally getting your ideal Batman movie like next month.
But I don't need that. I've already had my ideal Batman trilogy. I don't need another Batman movie. Batman's been achieved.
Well, Birds of Prey exists.
That warms my heart to hear, because I don't hear that. Batman fans seem to be very greedy and think that.
Like, I mean, I'll take more. Yeah. I'll happily have more, but I don't need it. I want to see all these other characters be achieved, and Birds of Prey was not an example of that. So piss off.
Birds of Prey was fantastic. It's the best, still the best DC movie in the current set.
I'm not weighing in on this, but I don't.
It looked like you were nodding along, to be honest, Matt.
I'm disgusted with Connor right now. He's absolute filth.
Facts. That's what I'm doing.
I'll say it gave us Margot Robbie proper as Harley, and I'm thankful for that. So I like her Harley a whole lot more than that other movie she was in first.
She was a great huntress.
It was a terrible Cassandra Cain.
Well, it wasn't even Cassandra Cain. I'm not going over this again. We have the same. You guys bitch at me about having the same arguments every time. This is the same argument we have over Birds of Prey versus everything else. So yeah.
Hey, I didn't bring up Birds of Prey. He brought up Birds of Prey.
Yeah, I know.
I'm happy never bringing that movie up again. I don't need to talk about it. Life has moved on.
You never move on.
Life has moved on. I'm quite happy. Do you know there's 4 DC movies scheduled for this year?
Nope.
Batman,
Shazam 2,
Flashpoint, and is Black Adam this year?
No, was it Black Adam? I thought it was Aquaman at the end of the year. Maybe it is Black Adam. But yeah,
I don't know anymore.
There's 4. One of those 2 is the 4th one.
Will I see any of them in cinemas? Probably not.
I'll see Batman.
You're telling me you're gonna miss taking Paige to go see The Rock as Black Adam?
I mean, I could just watch it at home a month later.
I like how you got to think about it for a minute.
Look, she's not going to argue if I say we're going to see this. Let me say that. She'll cover a lot. I mean, she could listen to them anyway, but she would definitely go along with that. There's no disputing that fact. But more does. I still haven't been to a cinema. I don't know if I'm ready to go to a cinema. I didn't go to see Bond. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to go see Batman. Am I going to go see Black Adam? We'll see where we are.
I'll see Batman. The rest of them, I don't know.
I'm gonna be there.
I will say I'm gonna laugh if Batman gets delayed because things are getting delayed again.
Yeah, I know. I don't think so though because we're 6 weeks out and they're not. I think they're just gonna throw it out.
Because honestly, with Marvel, like I saw Spider-Man in theaters, but most of the ones coming out this year, I could probably wait on. I don't think most of them
They'll
are.
be on Disney Plus within a few months.
Yeah, I don't think there's any that I need to see right away.
Why is coming out Marvel? I legitimately don't know. A genuine question. I wasn't being snarky.
Oh,
Multiverse of Madness.
yeah, I can wait on that for sure.
Yeah.
That first Doctor Strange movie such shit.
I don't actually.
Yeah, but I've been tempted by rumors that a certain character from What If might be showing up in live action, and I have to.
I love that I don't know which character that is.
I know, and I'm keeping it vague on purpose.
There's obviously
but if you know me,
variations
Connor,
on what.
I want to make
Is
it
it one that happens to be getting a comic book later this year?
Maybe.
Oh, I don't know who's getting a comic book, but I have a guess based on, and I only know a couple of characters that are in What If.
Yeah.
It's if it is, it's a character that's getting a comic this year from a creator. That means I'm going to read it.
Is it a character that Matt has an unhealthy crush on?
That could sum up a lot of characters.
Oh, I say character. Actress might be a better word to use. In that case.
I mean, it's a healthier crush than some of Matt's crushes.
Yeah, true. Still can't get my wife to go see the 355 with Jessica Chastain. So, might have to go see that one by myself.
Just have to lure her in with I don't know. Tell her Jake.
She knows everything Chris Evans is in, so I can't even lie.
Tell her Jake Gyllenhaal's in it, and she'll want to see it right away.
No, she'll ban it even harder. She'll show up defacing things. She's crazy. That said, I'm thinking about ordering a Jake Gyllenhaal shirt just to wear around the house.
I think you need a life-size cutout.
Yeah.
One of those cardboard ones that you prop up.
Oh no, I think she heard me.
Oh,
cool.
You should totally get one of those stand-ups and just have it hide it, sneak it in when she's not around, and just put it in the bathroom. So when she goes out of the bathroom, just randomly,
just like
Jake
stick
Gyllenhaal
it up
standing
sideways
there.
so it like sticks out from behind the door, so just like have his head popping out.
If I really wanted to be, I would get him from Nightcrawler, but then that would scare me too much, so I don't want to do that. Oh, we got Multiverse of Madness, Love and Thunder, apparently Wakanda Forever, but with the delays, I don't see that.
Apparently that's shooting again this week.
I saw today the guy who plays M'Baku got a raise because he's got an expanded role, and they said that Letitia Wright's vaccination issues have been resolved. Whatever that means. They didn't say she got it. They just say it's been resolved.
Well, I had heard they paid her more money and she finally relented. That could be but just give it to M'Baku. That's my guy.
Just get Hitman from the Hitman games to sneak up with a syringe and just do it.
Speaking of, just while you mentioned the Hitman games.
Wait, do you mean the actual Hitman or Tilda the Elephant?
I think he means actual Hitman.
Actual Hitman.
Okay.
Yes.
Those, I believe, all three of those new Hitman games are coming to Game Pass this month, so I might finally actually try them.
I already have the first two, and I'll probably get the third one at some point because I like the idea of playing them. I just haven't actually done it yet. So and I'm pretty sure I got one of them again free on Epic as well. So I own the first one twice, as you do. There are games they're giving away on Epic that have been given away in other places that I have 3-4 times that I'm never going to touch. I have GTA 5 in 4 places at this point. I'm never going to touch it. No, me neither. I have it on Epic, but I'm never going to play it.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Right. I guess that wraps up the news segment, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed it.
There was allegedly some news in there somewhere.
There was some news mixed in to the overall thing. So this segment that we're getting on to is the results of the fans of the show voting for the best DC comics of 2021. This is usually on the annual episode, but I kind of forgot to set up the voting before that, so it's on this one instead. So yeah, very simple. Best series of the year, I'll give you the top 10. Effectively, everyone submitted a top 5.
Was it Nightwing?
But let me explain how this works first, you prick. Right? effectively, everyone submitted the top 5, and they got points based on where they placed, and then that made that, ultimately a top 10 has been formed out of everyone's votes.
Do you want me to make some predictions?
Go on then.
Two predictions.
Have
One,
a guess.
Nightwing at 1. My second prediction is too much Bendis, because any amount of Bendis will be too much Bendis, and I don't trust our audience enough that there's no Bendis.
Matt, would you like to make any predictions here?
I'm gonna guess that the audience went rogue and they put Robin in the top 5. Avenge me.
It's a very ambitious prediction.
Okay, all right. Well, let's see how this.
I know that have the same energy as Kevin on The Office, going, if John Cougar Mellencamp everyone's an Oscar, I'm gonna be a very rich man.
Hey, if Gary Busey ever wins an Oscar, I'm going to be a very rich man.
Did we go over this? Is Gary Busey died, or is he still around?
He's still alive.
Okay, because I couldn't remember if I got Mandela affected. I could have sworn he died.
Gary Busey will never die.
Yeah, true.
He's immortal.
Oh, this is going to age so badly.
That is a T-shirt.
I really hope nothing happens between now and you publishing this episode.
Gary Busey will never die. That is that's a T-shirt. That sounds like a band.
Oh, I think for episode 300, it's got to do with DC Comics, but for episode 300, we should get together and watch the movie where he swaps bodies with a dog.
Yes.
So Gary Busey pretends to be a dog and sniffs around and barks and.
Is the most.
He didn't have to do much acting. The man's a maniac. They just filmed him living his life.
All right, okay. Top 10 as voted for by our audience. So thank you to everyone who did submit votes. And there's a few differences to our list. So let's have a look. See, number 10. Sneaking on there with not a lot to go on, but it made enough of an impression. Human Target is snuck on there, number 10.
I sense recency bias.
I mean, it's very good though, but I hate to agree. Oh my god, he's a little fluffy dog in this. It's called Quigley.
I've intrigued Matt. He had to go find what the movie was.
In the UK, it was called Daddy Dog Day.
It's so good.
Oh, number 9. Number 8. To be fair, I think that is the only one that you could accuse them of recency bias on.
Yeah.
So that's just
I will
that one.
accuse everything of it.
And it just snuck on at number 10, so it's not like they got that high. Number 9 is Superman, Son of Kal-El.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. Number 8 is Batman. Yep. Number 7 is Detective Comics. So, yeah, both Bat books kind of side by side. Which, I mean, they've both been pretty good. I mean, we like Detective more.
I'm not going to argue.
I like Batman more. You two like Detective more.
Yes, we have taste.
Yes, but I mean, we outvote you.
Just earlier on, you were agreeing that me and you had taste and Pete didn't.
Why do you think I laughed? Because I understand the hypocrisy of my statements. I'm self-aware.
You're the always sunny. I'm playing both sides. You're that gift.
That way I'm never wrong.
Number 6. Here's one that didn't make our list. Number 6. Infinite Frontier.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm surprised by that.
Yeah, the Infinite Frontier.
Maybe part of that is because it was an event everyone read it, so it kind of just got on by mass appeal.
Maybe, I guess. I mean, it was a solid book. It wasn't a bad book by any means. It just but it was never in consideration for us, I don't think, to make it into the top 10. Number 5. I can't believe this, but number 5 is Robin.
Was it really?
That's
no,
where it should have been.
I'm not lying.
I was waiting for him as I'm looking up where I can watch Quigley.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for him to be saying that because Matt was like, I wanted to sneak into the 5. And I'm like, there's no it's actually Robin.
It's actually Robin. Robin's number 5.
Yeah, I'm proud of you people. You have taste.
I'm impressed.
Oh dear. Number 4 is Strange Adventures.
Okay.
Yeah. Number 3 is Rorschach.
Agree.
Okay. Number 2 is Action Comics, which is even higher than we had that, actually. So
it's only because you wouldn't let me put it above Rorschach.
Well, it's only because you have terrible taste and didn't want to read more Rorschach.
Not according to the audience, I don't.
It's still number 3,
And I wanted Action Comics above it.
You didn't read the audience's number 3
number
book.
1, so we can get this going.
We know what number 1 is.
Do you?
It's the only one that hasn't been said yet, so...
Quigley, comic book adaptation.
Yeah. By the way, it's not streaming on any of my services, so I am sad now.
That's a speciality film, mate. You have to seek it out and rent it. That's how that works. Number 1 is, of course, Nightwing, and I'm going to be honest with you, it won by a bit of a landslide, so...
fair.
You know, there you go.
1, glad to be wrong about my Bendis prediction. 2, not surprised by this one at all, because everyone loves this book. This isn't just us. This is winning best book of the year from kind of everyone.
It's also one of those things that if someone's complaining about it and they use, why they hate modern comics and they bring up Tom Taylor's Nightwing, you're like, you clearly don't read comics, my guy, because it's pretty unanimous.
Yeah.
So they also voted on, a couple other things, best writer, of course, which actually the result of this is a tie.
Is it the 2 Toms?
It is not the 2 Toms.
Throw Williamson in there.
Yeah. So, who are you guessing, Matt?
I'm guessing they're gonna throw Williamson in there because of Robin.
Like, Matt, you got the miracle of him being in the top 5. That's not
to be fair to him, though.
Infinite Frontier as well.
Infinite Frontier as well. So it's not like an unreasonable. I'm gonna guess PKJ, but.
Oh, interesting guesses. No, the tie for best writer is down to Tom Taylor and Ram V.
Oh, Connor, where were you?
Do you know what?
That's your dude.
No, but the thing is, he didn't appear at all on the top 10 of books.
Right.
Which is why I didn't think he was going to be in this consideration. I guess this is a case of the body of his work kind of built up for people over the year enough that it added up to become a best writer vote, but not enough to be like, topping in the individual titles.
This is like at the Oscars when someone's nominated for best director, but the movie's not up for best picture, and you're like, how'd that happen?
Yeah.
I mean, well, keep in mind, like, when they're doing they only put in one writer each versus putting in top 5 books. So, like, effectively what I'm saying is that maybe Ram V split between people like Catwoman, Swamp Thing.
As I'm saying, collectively,
Dark,
kind of, his titles built up to, people want him as the best writer, but even if the individual titles didn't crack their top list.
Yeah. I mean, all the names you guys mentioned did get, like, put forth, but did not win. Artist. Anyone care to guess who won best artist?
Garrett's. Well, you have to do the team, right? Of Garrett's and Shaner. And then let's go.
Could be Fornes for Rorschach.
Yeah. Fornes or Blanco for Catwoman.
Neither of you have said it. Bruno Redondo is best artist of the year. As voted
fair.
For. Yeah. So and just close second was Mike Perkins.
Okay.
Surprising, but not a bad surprise.
No.
So that's cool. Another category they voted on, it's just, I mean, this one wasn't like book specifically, it's just titled Worst of the Year, and this has been on it we've done this a few years now. It can be a book, but it can also be like, bad news we got this year. It can be, anything that you think has been wrong with DC this year. Would anyone care to guess what? Because the risk with this one is that everyone might just say something different because it's very broad. But I will say,
is it a book or a story?
But I will say there is a definite winner here that had multiple people saying this, and it is a book.
It's a book. Worst book. Is it a Bendis book?
It's Justice League.
It is Justice League.
Yeah, because it's been a mess.
Well, thankfully not for much longer.
And Connor was worried that Bendis would be in the top 10.
I feel bad, but it's starting to get to the point where, did you guys see that tweet? I forget who had it, but it was like Romita's coming home.
Oh, yeah,
And
'cause he's
it's
on
Marvel.
Amazing Spider-Man again.
Yeah. And then it's just like it's vastly different reactions from the fan bases, where it's thank God
From both
Romita's
sides.
back. Yeah, but for
Yeah.
different reasons.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
we're
almost
like, thank
feeling
God
this.
Ramita's gone.
Yeah, I'm almost feeling the same about Bendis, and it's a shame because I did like a lot of it. We went over this a lot, but it's just now it's almost a meme where I didn't even read Justice League Legion, which I should. I love Legion.
I mean, I dropped
Enough
his
Bendis.
Legion quite quickly. I
Yeah.
dropped his Justice League fairly
Mhm.
quickly. What could I possibly want to get out of his Justice League versus Legion of Superheroes?
Right.
Wait.
That's fair. I still look forward to
It might
Naomi.
not have, I was gonna say, it might not have Naomi in it.
Um,
No, it was not a problem for me.
yeah. I just feel like he needs his own corner, and that's kind of what Wonder Comics should have been. And instead, he kind of took over everything. And I will say one of the benefits we got out of that is the aged up John that now we're getting to see through Taylor's frame and him doing interesting things with him.
That reminds me of a fun thing. You know how we were talking about last week in the Superman Son of Kal-El issue
Mhm.
that Damian looked kind of older?
Yeah.
That's because there was an art flub.
Yeah.
There was something went wrong between when the script got handed off to the art. They don't know when, but it got fixed obviously by the end. But the original unfinished version that got sent out to as a preview to retailers, it was Tim in the book. They drew Tim by mistake instead of Damian, so I had to go over and redraw it as Damian over, basically, and
But
change
obviously,
the
the height in the build was still Tim.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's why he looked older in that issue.
So no timey-wimey shenanigans of going back in time.
No, it was just a
art error.
Yeah, it was just a mistake that got covered up. It got caught and fixed, obviously, before publication, but that was a holdover of that mistake.
I wish Williamson got a hold of that and went, no, we're gonna make Damian Petty, make him older than John now.
That also kind of explains my problem where some of the dialogue was maybe not quite Damian enough, where obviously they put in a few Damian lines, like the lowest line was very on point, but...
Well, no, the writing was always written as Damian. It was just when it got
he's saying that it doesn't
artist.
but it didn't make the connection because it didn't look like Damian, therefore Damian's words didn't seem to line up, right, Pete? Is that what you're going for?
Kinda. The point I'm making is that, like, maybe this is partly why the mistake was made in the first place, is because it didn't actually feel like
maybe
Damian.
They were like, this can't be Damian.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But yeah, and in the last category, well, actually, I should probably just say some of the other things that people put in this just for the fun. So Bendis Justice League was the winning thing. A few, obvious things. So Teen Titans Academy popped up. Harley Quinn book popped up. Someone after my own heart complaining about no legacy numbering on some of the long running books like Batman and stuff.
Morons, the lot of you.
Shut it. The best thing about Flash and Wonder Woman right now is they went back to the original numbering. It's beautiful. It's a thing to cherish.
There was news this week. We'll get back to it after. Finish this. There was actually a piece of news that we didn't talk about.
That was a great Scott moment. Very good. And complaints of certain things not existing. The only other one I'll point out is the one that I just I don't understand. I mean, taste is a thing, but to the one person who said the worst thing at DC this year was Detective Comics. I don't get you. I don't understand.
Name and shame.
No, don't name and shame. We don't do that here.
Oh, I can't name and shame. It was anonymous. So I don't know who it is.
Let yourself be known. Tweet us, comment if you're on the YouTube version. Let yourself be known so you can be publicly named and shamed.
It stuck out though. It's not just because I like Detective Comics or we like Detective Comics, but it stuck out because it made the top 10. Everyone seemed to be into
Except
it.
for that one person.
Just this one person just really didn't like it.
There's always one.
But hey, and then the last category, as per usual, is just best non-DC books. Just mention a bunch and see. Any guesses as to what the most mentioned non-DC book was?
No.
Is it a Marvel book or is it something else?
It's not Marvel.
Is it one of the Tynan books?
Maybe.
Okay. If it is, I'm gonna go with Something's Killing the Children.
No.
Department of Truth.
There's Department of Truth.
Cool.
I mean, they're both fantastic.
Yeah, and then runner-up was Mary Desolate Star. So
Also fantastic.
those were definitely.
I have all three of those now sitting, waiting to be read.
Those were by far the most mentioned. And there was some Marvel books, brought up. Some of the usual suspects. But yeah,
If anyone mentioned any X-Men books, then terrible people.
There was some X-Men book mentions, yes.
Disgraceful.
Yeah. Some people mentioned Venom, Immortal Hulk, which I'm assuming that it did end this year. Then there was some this year.
It only ended like a couple months ago.
Yeah, okay, so it's one of those things where I'm like, was that this year?
Yeah, it ended like September, October. It was quite
That's fine. That's fine. So very cool. And clearly Connor sent in a submission because someone mentioned Die. So
it's a fantastic book.
Or were they telling Connor to die?
I mean, he's the one reading this. I'm telling him to die.
Of course, naturally.
Connor, die.
Naturally.
No, that's an order.
So another little segment here for you. Right, this is not a long thing, but it came to my attention. Right, so I was planning on reading Urban Legends, and I ended up doing something else instead because it came to my attention. I promised I was going to do something last week.
God damn it! I thought you'd forgotten. And
I did forget last week. I promised that I was going to start keeping track of all the ratings, so that I could have delicious statistics at the end of the year.
So you felt like you had to go and get them right that second instead of reading one more comic.
Yes. So,
which you have to realize, Connor, he spent way more time on collecting numbers and statistics because he's a robot than the 15 minutes it would have taken to read Urban Legends.
Urban Legends would take more than 15 minutes. It's a 60-page book.
Dude, Connor,
I mean, the half that I read very fast.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I didn't look at it, so I don't know. But I just want everyone to be assured that I noted down the numbers from last week. I've started a document, and I've
the crazy thing about it is sure, I respect enough that you're doing this. Fine.
Yes.
You could have waited until this episode was done and then gone and got those numbers and read your comics still.
Well, no, because I had to set it up so that I could have the empty slots because I'm going to fill it out with the new ratings.
You should have never told me this because now,
as we go.
Now that I know you're keeping track.
And Joe, what's amazing, Matt, is every so often I can be like, hey, this is what your average is at for the year so far, Matt.
Yeah.
It'll be 7.
Oh, man.
So it's set up, and so don't worry. Matt's ratings from last week of 8.5, 7.57, 8.5, and 8 were all noted down.
Yep. Look at that cluster.
Try hard.
Yeah. As was Connor's 8.5, 8.0, 7.0, and 8.5. And 8.5 again.
And I have a reputation for being negative.
I know, you were quite positive last week. And my ratings too. You read slightly different books, which is why there was a weird pause there, because it was like, oh wait, there's another one. It's just after a gap. So, yeah. And not only that, at the end of the year, I'll be able to give you your average for like a specific writer, as well as a specific series.
Literally, you could have just jotted down the scores anywhere for this episode, read your comic, and then gone through and done all this tomorrow.
That's not how I operate.
I hope you are ready to accept that you have disappointed the people.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they're heartbroken I didn't read Urban Legends.
Well, they might be. They might have wanted your hot takes.
I mean, I agree. My opinion is the one that they all care about the most. I agree with that sentiment, but you know,
I said I cared the most. I said they disappoint collectively.
I get what you're saying. I see what you're putting down. So it's going to be a thing. We're going to do it, and excitement should ensue. Now, I believe Conrad did say that he was going to give us some extra breaking kind of news.
It's not breaking news. It's news that you both know about because we discussed this earlier in the week.
Oh,
But we obviously forgot about it because whatever site didn't mention it. This is the early cancellation of Wonder Girl.
oh
yeah.
yeah.
Which I think is definitely news because issue 8 was solicited. That has been cancelled. So issue 7, which is next week's book or the week after, it's this month's book. It will be the last issue. It'll still have the 2 issues tying into Trial of the Amazons because they were. We noticed when we read those lists anyway, they were their own series as opposed to just the next issues. But yeah, this was in a letter to retailers. It said stay tuned for more on the future Wonder Girl. So maybe they've got plans for minis.
It kind of implies that there's going to be a new book, or unless they're just skyrocketing her to just take over as Wonder Woman like really quickly, which
it's very possible given we don't know what this event is going to do that could happen.
Yeah. So it could
just are a lot more positive on this than I am. Is that where she's just going to get swept under the rug?
I mean, it could be that, but the way it's phrased makes it sound like there is something planned. I will say that I'm not sad the book, if it is just ending. I mean, I've dropped it. I officially dropped it with issue 6 because I just didn't want to read it anymore. So
I'm maybe more inclined to go and read issue 6 and then just read issue 7 just so I've read it all then at that point.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, now it's ending.
Or was it issue 5 I read? Whatever the last one was I read. That's when
6, right?
Yeah, I think it was 6.
I don't remember if we read 6 or not.
I think we read 6. I think we talked about 6.
Okay, well then, if that's the case, I might read 7 because it's just, well, there's only one more. It's not that much at that point. But
yeah. So
it's not to be too disappointed.
Honestly, it does kind of sound like it might just be a case of they're rejuggling the book either into a new title, or maybe this event's going to have her take over as Wonder Woman or something.
Yeah.
I just checked. I definitely read 6. I'm assuming we all did. So if there's only one issue left, I might just read it.
Or maybe they'll do like some sort of plural thing. They'll do Wonder Woman, and it'll be.
I always have to think about that because I never struggle with Pete's accent, but that one word or 2 words, they just sound the same from him. So I had to every time I have to stop and think about what did you say?
I mean, Matt, do you get confused between the words wonder and woman from me?
No,
not those words. Woman and women.
No, I know. I was cracking a joke.
No, I'm making it clear for the audience.
Yes.
No, I just feel like with everything that happened with Diana, and how that started and how it ended kind of messy. Feels like they shifted gears to maybe Yara was supposed to take over, and then
it would
now they're shifting
for it to do now that Diana's just got back to kind of go, all right, and she's gone again. Now it's Yara.
Yeah, that's why I just think that they're going to kind of sweep Yara under. Maybe there'll be a Wonder Girls book like we're doing with Batgirls, but look how long it took us to get a Batgirls book. I
wouldn't be opposed to a Wonder Girls book though.
Either would I. I've always wanted a second Wonder Woman book. And while this wouldn't be Diana, this is better than a backup, But yeah, Wonder Girl felt rudderless, and it definitely felt like this was just the holdover from 5G that they tried to make work, and it just really wasn't. It's kind of on the writer artist. I'm blanking on her name, Jarrell Jones. Well, once she starts missing art duties, that's where you can kind of feel things are maybe going a little sideways.
Well, the sad part of that is that she's a great artist. Writer though, like I feel at this point there's enough evidence to suggest that she's not that great at plotting out stories.
Yeah,
I agree. I think she's a great artist. I think all of the other artists who have joined her on that book have done a phenomenal job of emulating her style. That it is borderline seamless. Don't want to. Because obviously we say, the book kind of went off the rails when she stopped doing art. I don't think that's the cause of it. I think that's just it's a neat parallel, but I don't think there's a
It seemed to me like
correlation.
Plotting it seemed to take a lot more energy, right? Than
I think
it.
Fundamentally, she's just not an amazing writer, and that's okay. Her skills clearly lie in art, and she's
right. I mean, we all see how Tom King draws, so
I saw some of Ramvi's art last
Did
week.
the man just say that Tom King's
Shockingly
art
annoying.
was better than Joel Jones? What?
No, but he
his
was talking
point
about how
was Tom
some
King is
people just
he thinks Tom King's a great writer but a terrible artist.
Right.
And Joel Jones is clearly a great artist, but maybe not such a great
I
writer.
don't know.
mediocre storytelling.
He's King signaling. He's.
I haven't seen Tom Taylor's art, so I can't say. So I have seen King's art, and he always puts "I'm sorry," so he knows.
He's Tom Taylor's art is Schrodinger's art, and it may be amazing, but
Right.
we've never seen it, so we don't know for sure.
Wait, would you rather have a Tom King book, okay, drawn by him too, or Tom King working with JR?
Honestly, just Tom King did it himself would be more funny. So that's my answer.
Yeah, I think I'm with you.
I mean, I mean, it'd be fun for one issue. I don't know if I'd it would be funny the second issue, but for that one issue, it'd be hilarious.
I think you do that in just like one of those big anthology holiday
Yeah.
specials. You just let Tom King write and draw a whole one, just not a whole issue, like a whole story, like a 10-page story.
I will never forget him defacing the Elmer Fudd special with the bat smile, where he was just drawing the smiley face on the shadow of Batman.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, well there you go. There's some news.
That was news.
Cheery, delightful news all around today. So cool. Well, in that case, I think we will actually maybe talk about a comic book. Or 4. Precisely 4.
Mm-hmm.
5 if you count my Patreon book.
That's a bit of a stretch.
You're on talking about 3, so shut up.
I am looking forward to pretending to listen to you while snapping when we get to Urban Legends.
It's fine. I never listen to a word you say anyway.
So, yes, Detective Comics 1048, Mariko Tamaki writing with Ivan Reis on the art, second part of The Tower. And we're using this format where we can kind of jump around, and this one doesn't jump around too much. We get obviously a flashback to this throws a wrench into some theories about the backup from last issue about who the kid might be. We thought, maybe it's this Ware fellow. But it's of course not, because we get his
we
actual.
get very similar.
Wow.
No, well,
that wasn't our theory last issue.
That was one of the theories.
It was what's his name, Nero. We thought maybe.
Yeah, we thought it was Nero.
Oh, okay. All right, fair enough.
The red hair.
Well,
but
well, so maybe that's still right. But regardless, we get a flashback to Kid Ware.
Ware's origin's not that much different than Nero's, so that might be important later.
Oh yeah, sure. They may relate to each other and bond and whatnot. So we get a little bit of that. But then the rest of the issue takes place on, I think it was day 12, and it's Kate infiltrating in a job interview and trying to get close to Ware, and just some of the planning going on. It reveals that they've got a new base in the sewer system near the tower that's close by. So yeah, I think this is a smart. Obviously, doesn't really answer kind of the cliffhangers from the end of issue 1. Well, you know what I mean, part 1. And I think that's okay. I think it makes sense to me that that's kind of your tease for the big tension and the Die Hard part of the story, but then we go back and really set up some more of the context for it. I think from a pacing perspective, and again, it works better because it's weekly, but if I'm thinking of this as a movie, this feels right to cut back and sort of set this stuff up here.
It does, and it makes me assume as well at this point that we're going to move quite significantly past that point next month, or at least in general. I think most of this, this month, so this issue, obviously next issue will be kind of before the events of day, was it 27?
Something like that.
Yeah. And then 1050 being the oversized issue, and because this part is officially called Shadows of the Bat, so it has its own name for this part. So I think that'll deal with that and move past that, and then February's issues will be kind of have its own, okay, this is what we're building to that month.
Yeah. So we get the idea that Ware's mother was psychotic and lashed out violently, and ultimately it happened a couple of times, so that's why he was kind of given to the system instead. And we see that he. Oh, it's actually later on. I think we see that he runs away with the lady's
to the end.
card, yeah. And he's like,
get some pizza with his mate.
Yeah, and he calls it Za, which means that I officially hate his guts and want him to die a violent death, quite frankly.
It really shows he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he already did die a violent death.
So we think.
Yeah, well, allegedly. Allegedly. All I'm saying is you either die a hero or live long enough to say the word Za.
Yeah.
When
did that become a thing? Like, why is that a thing?
Because people are terrible.
I don't know.
I guess.
Somehow, I don't know why, but somehow, some way, I'm going to prove it's Zack Snyder's fault. Anyway, so yeah, we get to day 12, and what I liked about this is because it's a comic book and you don't recognize actors. You don't necessarily know for sure when it's someone if they don't have their costume on, right? So there's sort of a minute I'm like, obviously the red hair's there, but it's like, oh, okay, maybe this is a new character he's interviewing. But then, of course, it's like on the next page, you get the little earpiece and it's like Oracle's talking to her, and it's like, it's Kate, she's infiltrating. This is all a ruse. So
they're putting a lot of resources into Arkham Tower.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Because we know from later on that they've got multiple people who have infiltrated. Right. Kate's infiltrating as a potential doctor, and she gets a tour. I mean, that's basically the main story of this issue. She's getting a tour around the building and being shown the ward and all the rest of it.
Yeah, and we see these like antivulsion pops back up.
Freezes
and there's
down
another
there.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the basement. That's one of the key things is that for whatever reason that became the most secure ward. But they're all roaming around freely, and Mr. Freeze, the only thing Mr. Freeze gets, and heated, not the right word here for multiple reasons, but the only thing he gets kind of heated about is that they're keeping him from his tea. He wants to go have some tea.
It was a nice coffee, wasn't it?
Oh, iced coffee, sorry, yes. I got the beverage slightly wrong. Forgive me.
Matt will not forgive you for that.
No, because they're not the same. And I think I need more coffee now.
Oh dear. I think what I really liked about this, as they're talking about like Mr. Freeze's past and like, he's trying to destroy the city multiple times. There's a great full page spread there. But I love the inserts of panels with like villainous Freeze like in between like this really docile, like friendly like Mr. Freeze, who's like just smiling at them. Like you've got that one panel where he's gritting his teeth and he's like all angry and evil looking, but it's like right in between these just like pleasant, and it's this idea like how surreal and creepy this must be. Like it's funny, like y'all. I maybe I compared part of it to The Shining last time, but there is almost like a Shining vibe to this.
Definitely did.
Yeah, I think it's because of the elevator stuff. I think this is a different part of The Shining. It's making me think of though. This is making me think of like Jack running into the ghost and stuff, and obviously he's not a ghost in this case, but the same kind of vibe where he's being friendly, but he's actually this violent character who's got this dark past who might snap at any time.
Right.
Or is he cured?
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say probably not.
I might agree with that, yeah.
So probably not. Interestingly here, because of the interest of character here, they never actually say who she is exactly, but we see what looks like Harley, and she's on the cover as well. That's the cover of the issue. But we see like a Harley Quinn inside like a padded cell, and she's allowed to leave, but she insists on staying and sort of like playing out the role of like the crazy Harley Quinn. And he just says she thinks she's Harley Quinn, and immediately I'm like, oh, this is interesting. So who is it then?
I don't believe it's anyone that matters necessarily.
Well, I'm thinking we're kind of getting I don't know if we're gonna do like an imposter Harley.
No, when I say who is it, I'm not saying that because I think it's someone we're going to recognize that's going to be revealed later. I don't mean that. I don't really want it to be that.
It sounded like.
When I say who is it, then I just mean okay. So we're going to explore who this new character is that is now impersonating Harley Quinn. Like she will be a character of some kind in and of herself.
Maybe honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if she's just there just for the bit of like, oh look at some of the weirdos that we've got in here.
Well, but it seems like she's more important though, because they're talking about she blew up a food court, no injuries. It was quite the show. And when she talks about it, it cuts to her dialogue in that moment at the food court. And she just says, I'm Harley Quinn. I'm 2 bananas and a bunny. Come and get me. I'm going to kill all these guys and then 3 more. And it just seems like, why put that in there? To show.
Because, it says, some of the patients seem like they want to be caught.
Well, I think the main thing is you want to establish a few specific threats that are going to be running around the tower later on, right? So this is going to be one that we can recognize instantly. We're going to know there's a fake Harley Quinn running around who is dangerous, because we can't just have Anna Vulsion being the only psycho running around that might be a danger to them. So I mean, even if we don't explore her that much, this serves as like, okay, we're setting up at least a cast of a few. Mr. Freeze obviously we know anyway, but like we established that he's here so that we can use him later in the general story. So I think that's part of it. They run into Anna Vulsion, and Batwoman kind of flashes back briefly as she goes to shake her hand to the night she caught her back in the prelude issue. And Kate has to make with the niceties and sort of act interested in Dr. Ware to like get hired. She says that to Oracle because there's a great transition. I actually probably my favorite thing about the whole issue, and part of it's because how much I love just like all these Bat characters working together, but it's the transition of her walking into the alley and like, going into the sewer and the conversation's still going, but then she goes into the new base and it's like, okay, we got all that. And the one bit of speculation I'd offer to suggest that not so much that it'll turn out to be someone important, but that we get more of who this person who is Harley is, that I feel like Nightwing's line where he says, "Did you see her?" Might be a reference to her. Although, admittedly, Kate does say she didn't see her. So
no, I don't think it's a reference to that at all. I think because Nightwing's like, "Oh, did you see her?" To me, felt clear they've got someone undercover as a patient.
Yeah,
and it was like, "Did you see her? Is she okay?" Sort of thing. And case I didn't see her. Yeah,
and I'm feeling that might be Huntress because that's the cliffhanger we left on, or so we thought last week. But yeah, but maybe this Harley thing's meant to be a red herring, because we know she's still running around and she's still a member of the Bat family. So at this point,
you think the twist is going to be that it is actually Harley, but she's pretending to be someone else, pretending to be Harley?
Maybe.
That would be kind of fun, actually. Huh?
Yeah. It's very much, Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder. So,
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe it is Huntress. I don't know if I necessarily get that because that was the cliffhanger from last issue, though, because that cliffhanger is kind of unrelated. And
no, but
anyway, to this,
it's related since we saw Huntress seemingly in patient outfit,
right?
So, and this here, we know that that Nightwing's asking about someone who is a patient.
Right.
My assumption was, okay, it's someone undercover. It makes sense to be Huntress after we saw.
And it's not this
last issue,
right? And it's not this fake Harley because we know that she sees her.
Yeah.
So someone else. So yeah, that would have been my guess.
Yeah. I guess. I mean, maybe I'm just reading into the tone, but he sounds concerned, which is why maybe I was thinking it's someone.
A good person. Be concerned about anyone in the Bat family.
Yeah. Well, if it was Babs, I'd get why I'd be like saying it like, "Did you see her? Like, she better be okay."
So Babs is sat right there.
Babs is sat, obviously. Yeah, obviously it's not Barbara. Yeah. I'm saying, but Babs would be the one that makes sense. Unless Dick gets really close to someone else in the very close future.
I mean, we know where they're set up right now is kind of the mom and dad of the Bat family with Bruce gone. But I mean, traditionally, Dick also has a history with Helena. So I don't know if that's still intact now.
That's true.
But I don't think that's where they're going.
I didn't read it that way at all. I just, because they're asking, "Oh, is there any word from Batman?" And and he's like, "No, nothing." And Dick's like, "Oh, did you see her?" Like, it just, to me, it sounded as a concern. It's like, "Oh, is she all right?" Like,
Yeah. Do you know what it is? I think it's because of the way he's introduced. Because he comes out of shadows, so he says it from the shadow. It's almost a very Batman entrance. The way he like asks a question from the shadows in the background.
Right.
Yeah.
Which for Dick is, I wouldn't say out of character, but it's definitely more notable for Dick. Whereas Batman would do this every issue, and you wouldn't think twice. It's just Batman.
I think that plays into Matt saying them becoming like the parents of the Bat family.
Yeah.
He's kind of standing in as Batman essentially.
He's a method actor, is what you're saying. He's getting into the role.
Hey, he's done it before. He'll do it again.
Yeah. And then it's after this we go back to the flashback, and young Dr. Ware sneaking off with the credit card. And
we do also learn about the mysterious Dr. Ocean as well.
Yeah.
We do hear about Dr. Ocean. Who they do ask. I mean, Kate does ask about Dr. Ocean in the facility. When she's talking.
Brushed off.
Yeah, it gets brushed off quite quickly. Like, so it's not Kate. It's Chase who asks about because she wants to see him.
Right.
She wants to see him. That's right.
But she gets brushed off. So I was like, oh, he's busy.
So Dr. Ocean sounds like he's one of the head therapists or doctors who works there, right? That's what it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it sounds like he's maybe even above Ware, at least, if not officially, kind of seemingly might be the real brains behind it. I don't know.
Yeah, I this is the sort of issue I read, and I can sense like there's going to be a portion of people who think it's a dull issue because it's not actiony or anything. To me, this was the perfect like slow burn, like setting the table that works at this part of the story for me. Like I was really into this.
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
Yeah, I think it's a nice next chapter. It does help that the pacing with, is weekly. So, when there's a little bit of, like you said, a slowdown or a lull.
Yeah, if you were waiting for a month for this issue, you might feel a bit different.
Mm-hmm. But that was fine. I want to know what's going up with Ware, and, because everything's on the up and up, especially here now.
I actually really appreciate that during most of the stuff at the start, it's just trying to make you feel really sympathetic. So, oh, maybe he is doing this for the right reasons. He saw what happened to him.
But then the ending points of kind of the flip of that where...
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's like, no, screw them all.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the end of the flashback is basically him saying to his friend, like, I hate mentally ill people. That's basically what he says.
Yeah,
so...
he says, fixing what's wrong with people like his mum's a waste of time. And it's like, okay, by the end of the issue, it's a completely, flipped perspective on what you thought it was going to be doing.
Which does beg the question is, what is he up to then?
Right.
So, yeah, it's interesting stuff. And then we have the backup, of course, as well. Continuing this kid who's been, left without parents because of the Joker. This issue focuses more on Bruce, though, and it's him sort of like coming back bloody and bruised, and Alfred's, looking after him, complaining that he's not going to the hospital. He has to stitch him up while he's sitting at the computer.
Complaining that he's not even going to bed.
Yeah. Yep. Do you know what my favorite thing in the art of this backup, right? It's such a simple little thing, but see when it cuts to where the kid is now at Arkham, and we actually find out like a little bit later it's actually Harleen Quinzel he's talking to before she became Harley, which makes sense given the time period. But that first panel, like the way she's just kind of cut off at the top of the panel, just to give you the sense that it's his POV and he's looking down, so he's not seeing her completely, is just perfect. Like I got it. I got exactly why it looked out, not framed properly, and it just worked. I was like, genius. Sometimes the simple tricks just work the best. So
and then the next panel is clearly from Harleen's, because it is from a higher angle looking down. Not significantly, obviously they're both still sat down, but it's still framed just slightly looking downwards at.
Yeah, no, it's just really well paced, and it teases the clay when he goes to the bathroom, like there's clay all on the floor. Bruce is here, and Bruce is here specifically to see the kid because he's looking for him. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I love that they have Clayface cleaning, but as he cleans, he's just making a bigger mess.
Up,
yeah.
Well, that's the question. Is he mopping in general, or is he mopping after himself? Like, is he walking backwards with the mop all times? Right.
So, but I do like this. I've never seen as creepy as double mouth Clayface. Right? Like there's the monster mouth talks at the same time as the mouth inside.
Yeah.
And it's very unsettling, and especially looking at the kid's perspective, it makes it that much scarier. Even though, as we know here, like Clayface is just kind of, he's scary looking, but there's a kind heart in there somewhere.
Even going from, like, obviously we know that from the last few years of Clayface is now kind of a good guy, but even the shoot, he doesn't know. Like he says, I wasn't going to hurt him. He was being kind of nice.
He's very sympathetic. He's actually sitting and just sort of like
hanging out with the kid.
Yeah,
he's letting him like mold things. He's making little triceratops. Like dinosaurs.
And he's come down to his level.
And Bruce, Bruce and the orderlies kind of react aversely, like, "Oh, you're near the child. You're being dangerous." He's like, "No, I'm just hanging out with the kid. He's fine." So you actually get really sympathetic, and Bruce comes off as a little bit of a dick in this scene.
Mm-hmm.
But there is kind of a nice touch here where the kid's scared of him at first because they mentioned that he's wet himself, but
Right.
This contrast that he's very quickly like become friends with Clayface when everything else when he's seen with Harley was kind of pointing out, and this was brought up last part as well, this idea that he kind of doesn't see a difference between Batman and Joker. He thinks Batman's just as scary and crazy as the Joker. That's kind of what he's getting at earlier, because he calls them just two costumed like freaks or two costumed,
and he says that he doesn't know.
Yeah,
you know,
because he
like, which one
describes,
it was.
and I was like, no one else is there except Batman. Wait, she's like, wait, do you mean Batman? Is that who you're terrified of?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm curious to see where this goes and how it might or might not like tie into
the fact that Bruce takes it to, well, it's called the Martha Wayne Orphanage, but
yeah,
it's Mar Guns, right? That's Mar Gun.
Wait, what?
Not necessarily.
It looks like Mar Gun.
Does it
That
look
last
like
page, top right panel.
Oh yeah, I suppose it does kind of look like my gun.
I mean, maybe I'm way wrong, but immediately I was like, oh, that's Mar Gun.
I mean,
and this, I assume that's what this was.
But that, I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be, but like I always thought that was like on like near Crime Alley. That
I mean, they could have changed that slightly.
You could have done. I mean, I'll be honest, I never clocked that was because she's quite small in the pile, so I never really even gave it much thought. I mean, yeah, I guess it could be Mar Gun.
It looked exactly like Mar Gun to me. That was my immediate thought. That until you guys have both gone, is it? That I didn't even doubt that it was until then. It was like just I thought it was like a certainty, and now I'm questioning myself.
Because I don't think Mar Gun was at the Martha Wayne Orphanage, was she?
No, she had.
Why am I just learning who Mar Gun is?
Mar Gun is.
It's from Jason Todd's like origin.
Yeah, she ran the home that Jason was kind of sent to, and she had a front that Bruce and Batman thought was, oh, it's this nice little place. It's this little like she's helping the kids, and she was actually running a crime ring and turning all hardened criminals.
Gotcha.
And but she's been a thing in the in other areas as well. Like she's come up a few times. And
yeah, my confusion was just why you bringing up Mar Gun, whereas Matt's like, who the hell's Mar Gun?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just like, yeah, I'm bringing up Mar Gun because Mar Gun's on the panel.
But Billy's mum, Matt.
Billy Gunn. Yeah. So she's the grandmother of the ass boys.
Yes, she's the ass grand lady.
Right.
Now Connor's confused. I mean, the sad part of the end here is the Batman's like, it's Bruce talking to him really, but he says that you'll be safe there, I promise, and he's like ominously like watching from the rooftop.
And this is more why I assumed it was Mar Gun's, because it's that ironic of like, oh, you'll be safe there, where clearly, because it's the same way when he dropped Jason off. Oh, you'll be safe.
I mean,
here.
this still doesn't answer the question I was posing, which is how this is maybe or maybe not going to tie in to the main story.
No, that's fair. Again, I'm still leaning towards it's the Nero stuff, but now I'm looking at this and going, oh, is this going to tie in with maybe some of Jason's origin stuff as well? And
it almost seems like the point they're making here is that the kid doesn't see the people in Arkham as monsters, but he sees Batman as a monster, and that Batman and Joker are two sides of the same coin, and that goes with the whole point of Batman and theatrics and whatnot, just through the eyes of a kid, and how these quote monsters are capable of compassion in the right circumstances, and maybe that'll play into whatever Ware's trying to do.
Maybe just on something interesting I've seen here. I'm looking at the last page of it. The story's called House of Gotham.
Mm-hmm.
However, on the front page, on the cover, it's got the backup titled as House of Wayne. And I wonder, was there a weird disconnect there? Like
maybe because it's supposed to be House of Gotham, right?
I would have thought so, but I don't know. It was a weird. I didn't clock it until right this second. I'm just like, that was a weird oversight.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And then just that regular cover for 1050s. It's very similar to the cover we had last week, but it's just a nice kind of follow up to it. there is a Batman on the cover, seemingly, but
Doesn't look like Bruce, though.
it doesn't look like Bruce. And notably, Barbara's not there.
Is that not? Hang on.
You're like looking at them going, wait. No, you got Steph at the bottom there. You got Kate. You got Huntress. You got Cass. You got Nightwing kind of on the shoulder of Batman there. Or you got Harley at the bottom, or this fake Harley potentially. Do you know what I will say about this art? And it's the same on this cover for this issue, which is also a very nice cover. Is I do buy that it's not really her. Like, it looks like someone else playing Harley. It does look like that, which is kind of impressive, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just while we're on this back cover, this is the Rodriguez cover, just for anyone looking at these.
Yeah.
Cass's head looks like it's stuck on at a really strange angle, and I can't figure out how she's meant to be stood. Like, it looks like she's twisting her head all the way round or something. I don't. Like, it looks very unnatural, and I don't know if that's just me.
Let me have a quick.
Yeah, because her shoulders are too far forward.
It looks like it looks like I'm looking at the back of her left shoulder is what we're seeing, and then her head's turned all the way around, like at a really strange angle.
I think this is. I want to say
a really long neck.
I want to say what's actually going on here is that what you think looks like the hood of a cape or the cowl might actually be more of a shoulder, and what you think is a shoulder is actually more to do with Nightwing's shoulder, potentially. But I'm not sure. I'm just kind of trying to make it work in my head.
No, that's why I'm asking, because I don't actually know, and you might be right, but I look at it and my brain goes, that looks wrong.
It's the one imperfection I'll give you. Also, no, it's not. I was going to say it looks like whoever's Batman here. It looks like he's got a little bit of a goatee going, but I think it's just the art style's got a bit of a stubble.
I think it's
I also thought there was stubble going on, to be honest.
Yeah.
But he also looks like he's small.
It looks slimmer. Yeah, this is the thing. Like, I almost double checked what I thought was Nightwing. I was like, is that somehow secretly Babs, and it's actually Dick in the batsuit?
Yeah.
Because he looks different. It looks like a skinnier guy in the batsuit, which Dick would be the obvious choice. But I do wonder if this cover, this may not be the case. This may just be just how this guy draws Batman, and that's fine, right? Yeah. But this cover makes me think that someone's putting on a batsuit at some point. It's not Bruce.
Right.
I would have said this, but again, something we do have to always take into consideration is it's just a cover. It could be meaningless entirely.
It could be, yeah. It's a really nice cover though. Like the one oddity of like Cassie's shoulder placement.
I think it's really annoying that she's so central, and that's where the mistake. I say mistake, or it's where my brain sees a mistake. It's annoying that it is the central one because it kind of ruins a lot of the image for me because I always see it. Whereas if it was one of the side characters that had that, then I could I could look away from it quite easily.
But so some of the face work this Irvin Rodriguez does though is pretty exceptional. It does this thing where some of them are like so realistic looking that it's not uncanny valley though. It's a really pleasant realistic. If that makes any sense. Like a good painting, I guess, is what I'm saying. Like a good quality painting. Anyway, issue was really good. It's all a solid chapter. Matt, what are you rating each part?
So I'll give the main story a 7 and the backup a 7.5.
Oh, a bit lower than last issue.
Yeah.
Connor?
I get the main story in 8 and the backup a 7.5.
Okay. I will also go with straight 8, I think. And then backup. Yeah, I'll agree with Connor's scores to be here. For the record, when I'm noting these down, I'm just noting down the main story scores because that's the one that feels relevant. Yeah. Don't know what I do for Urban Legends, to be honest, when we get there, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So
take an average.
Yeah. So cool. There you go. That is Detective Comics. So next up, Batgirls issue 2, Becky, Cloonan, and Michael Conrad with Jorge Corona on the art. We set up a lot of plot beats last episode, a lot of plot threads, and this issue's kind of dancing around all of them.
A lot of plot.
A lot of plot. So we got the Batgirls staying in their new place. The cliffhanger last issue was this new team called the Saints, who kind of worship Simon Saint and want to keep the dream of the Magistrate alive. And the attack. So the start of the issue is a big fighting scene.
I thought Simon Saint wasn't dead. Because then we have to talk about Waller using Saint's brain. Like, he'll be out. He'll be making trouble again. But this issue makes it sound like Saint's done.
Yeah, but I wonder if that's something that no one else knows. Because Waller and co want it to be a secret.
Right, but why would
they want the cover to him to be dead and not just in jail and keep him locked up like she does with everyone else in the Suicide Squad?
Do they have to explain that he's still there, or explain what they're doing with him, I guess? I don't know.
It's just Babs being so certain that he's dead and that he's been turned into a martyr just didn't track with everything else that we've read in post-Fear State, So that was a big glaring weird thing for me, at least.
Unless it's something we're forgetting, but I do remember Waller wanting to use him.
That's what I thought too, and that's why I was like, did I miss something? But yeah, now there's a lot going on here, and I didn't talk about the first issue because I wasn't here for that issue.
Oh yeah.
And I thought it was fine. It's very frenetic. Like, I know it's supposed to be Steph's narration.
Well, no, it's not.
No, it's third person.
That's the thing that we were confused about, because it sounds at points it sounds like it's Steph,
right?
But it's not. It's a third person. So even on this first page, the third panel, I'm just glancing here, because it would be cool if they weren't targeting our Batgirls. So it's an independent narrator.
This is a third person narration.
I've been reading this as Steph. This shows you how closely I read each word.
I think there's like I couldn't finish this issue.
Okay, this is the one.
I got about 5 pages. I'm so disappointed because I obviously was very excited for this book, and my concerns with the first issue were it was overly wordy. The first, I don't know, 5-6 pages of this issue, I could not get through. It was so dense, so bad, so just here's a description of every single one of these characters in this group, the Saints, and it was terrible. I thought it was genuinely atrocious. I just couldn't get through it. And I'm so disappointed. I don't know if it eases off that as the issue goes on, but oh man.
Yeah, but the problem is it seems like there's too much focus on too many different things versus, like, I feel like there's 3 different stories going on here, right? And none of them get the proper spotlight. So, like, you have the Saints, you have the murderer, the Ripper.
Serial killer,
and now you have the tutor and the zombies, and there's a lot going on, and I don't think that it's juggled particularly well at all. And then you have the problem with the narration where, it feels off. I feel Babs' characterization, she's a little bit too motherly, and I feel like she's a little bit too clueless on what these two are up to, which I don't believe, just from, different characteristics of Babs. Is she's a little bit closer to Bruce in that watchful eye. And I know they're going low tech and whatever, all that stuff, but I just feel like she would know that they have a big ass muscle car, and they weren't using her Bat Vespas.
I almost wonder if that's an intentional thing where she does know and she keeps mentioning it because she knows they're
maybe
up to no good.
But her characterization just feels off. The other two with Cass and Steph, though, feel right on with what I expect from them. Like, even though sometimes Cass is a little bit too wordy, I can buy that. Over time, spending time with Steph, who is a motor mouth, she's more kin to come out of her.
Yeah,
shell
she can, not speak forever. She has to kind of gradually say more stuff. But
I'm still used to her having that stilted kind of dialogue, and this is measured and it feels right. It takes some time getting used to. But those characters feel fine, and I like the action sequences, like the art's not on, but just all my issues that I talked about at the front, they're very overwhelming.
I mean, I agree the narration's a bit weird, and we had that problem in the first issue as well. And there is maybe a bit too much going on. Because I did, like, I actually kind of appreciated how it was bouncing between the serial killer stuff and the Saints stuff, right? I was kind of like, okay, this is kind of an interesting, like, two very different things to be, playing off. And you've also got the seer in the background, which does actually, as we see as the issue goes on, ties into the Saint stuff, because the seer is actually pretending to be Simon Saint to them, because we see them talking to Simon Saint as a hologram, but then we actually see the seer is actually the one doing the talking, and just it's coming out of the Saint's voice. So the seer is just manipulating them into doing some dirty work to take on the Batgirls. So that sort of ties them nicely together and feels nice enough. I appreciate that there's 3 of these villains, because it means that when the Batgirl's going to take them on, there's potential that Babs is going to get involved, and it'll be 3-on-3. So, there's some nice touches there in the setup. I definitely don't agree with a lot of the words Connor used. I did not get atrocious.
I don't agree either.
I did not get painful to read. No. I would go as far to say that I mostly quite enjoyed this. I would say that the characterization of Cass and Steph goes a long way. I think the art is really good. I thought it was good the first issue. I think it's still really good this issue. I like the running gags that they seem to have. Stuff like Steph being convinced that the creepy neighbor's the serial killer.
Right.
Little things like that, talking about the morning meetings and like, wait, what do I, because at one point Oracle calls them both Batgirl in the space of like 30 seconds and goes, wait a minute,
we need handles.
We need new handles, because we're all Batgirls. We can't just call each other Batgirl.
Yeah, you can't have us both turning our head when you call out Batgirl on the comms.
Yeah, so I am no weird nerd is down in this. I definitely like this. I like this the most out of the 3 of us for sure.
Well, I like the back half more because it seemed a little bit more concise. It seemed like there was a lot more that the writing team had figured out. Just the Saint stuff was very, for how it left the first issue to where it ended here, just as a tease, it was very, like, again, I will agree with Connor that some of that stuff was overly wordy, as they each get an introduction, like in an animated series, So, but yeah, the back half I definitely enjoyed more of the stuff that's going on with the zombies.
I do agree it's a bit wordy at the start as it's introducing them, but I actually kind of appreciated that it did make a point of setting up how each of the 3 of them are distinct. It's like, okay, so one's a sniper who strikes from afar, one's almost like an evil version of Cass because she's like a fighter who can like use your own weapons against you, and then there's the sort of the leader dude who's kind of big and tanky and whatever. Yeah,
and a big mech kind of deal.
And they've got all this stolen tech from his previous job at the magistrate, and so that's okay. That's all fine. I did I think the moment where I felt maybe they're introducing one too many things is when it went to the news report, and this the lady mentioned the Twitter art going up all over the city. I was like, wait, another thing? Now, to be fair, once it actually ties into something that's going on, it ties into it was like the thieves or the construction workers they had to beat up last issue. It turns out to tie into that, and that Twitter has some kind of weird mind control powers that is taking over people, and they're like stealing shit and who knows what else. And that's kind of the big ending we leave on. What I will say about this, and you could say it is too overstuffed, and it is to a point. But I also found it kind of refreshing in places just how much plot there was in this issue versus most modern comics. Like, I felt like there was like, we went through like 2 or 3 days of plot, and there was like, okay, we went out for a mission that night, we did this thing, we came back, so now we're getting involved in something else. It felt like there was a lot of progression in it.
No, there is, but it's just, again, it's a lot, and I feel like again, the Saint stuff I don't feel got enough of that spotlight, because they had to throw the tutor stuff in to make it work with the zombie stuff, and I just wish it was a little bit more concise. And then you throw Seer in, and how to Seer and the tutor, we're balancing all that. Like, it's like, what's the analogy I'm looking for? Like, the balance is getting thrown off just slightly here, but like, again, I enjoyed the back half more than the front half.
Yeah.
So
The cliffhanger at the end, of course, is when they hear Twitter basically, mind controlling a bunch of people. The cliffhanger is that Steph seems to be infected by it because she has red eyes. So we're going to have Steph v Cass next issue.
yeah,
which
because
should
we
be
saw
fun.
that Steph never turned in her phone the way she was supposed to,
Yes.
and that she was looking at it, and Cass kind of caught her, in that moment, and then now they're out, and the tutor strikes, and it seems like that power has something to do with going over the signals there. So, but no, I will say the art is easily the strongest point in this book. I love how stylish like this area of Gotham called the Hill looks like, just with the way that the colorist does things too.
Yeah, and I
Like,
love that we've got
vivid.
and I still love that there's their own little corner of the city that they're kind of patrolling now. I'm kind of into that.
Yeah.
So no, I mean it's not perfect. There's some rough edges.
Yeah.
But I still quite like the issue. I had a lot of fun reading this, to be honest. So, Connor's blanket negativity is
Yeah. He talked on Twitter about maybe he was too tired, and
because I read it quite late last night after I'd been trying to do a job application. I had a headache, and I was like, I'll read some of my comics to give myself a break. And I thought maybe I'm just in the wrong frame of mind, tired.
But finally, try to get that job in synchronized swimming you've been hoping for.
I think the arm shot my chance of that. I'll be honest with you. If you'd asked me a few years ago, I'd have been right up there for it. So I did give the issue another try today, though, thinking maybe I'll just have it. I'll come into it fresh, and I got about the same bit. I just it's every single one of these characters at the start getting here's a breakdown of their history and who they are from Oracle. All these green bubbles, and it was just I just couldn't read it. I just like I give up.
I mean, I agree. It was about 2 words at the start, and there's still the narration problem, and there is maybe too many plate spinning. Although I kind of also appreciate that there is a lot of things. Like their corner of this city feels very alive because there's so much going on. It's an interesting thing
I can't
to have.
Even critique that specifically because I don't think that was really a problem in the first issue, and I didn't get enough into this issue for that to be a problem for me. But just the actual writing of it was just I'm so disappointed. I really wanted to love this book.
And how
I did.
There was even a page in here where they have to because basically Babs has come up with new comm systems for them that are disguised as earrings, and Cass is like, wait, I don't have pierced ears, and which makes sense because why would Cass have pierced ears?
Yeah.
So Steph's like, sorry, I've done this to myself before. I can pierce your ears, and it's just there's a nice little bit where Cass might be a little scared of this, but she's not letting it show. So there's a good little character piece in there. I had a decent time with Batgirls thus far, anyway. But hey, Matt, what are you giving Batgirls issue 2?
I'm gonna give it 6.5.
Ooh,
you did not like this issue that much, did you?
It was fine.
Below a 7 though.
Yeah. I gave Detective a 7, so I couldn't.
He knows I'm keeping track, so he's starting to cook his books a little bit. I definitely liked it more than that. I'll give it a 7.5. I was tempted to go to 8, but I'll be reserved because it has some rough edges. So I'll say 7.5. I had a good time though. So there you go. That's Batgirls issue 2. Robin and Batman issue 3. Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen on the art.
Yep.
Final issue.
Yeah.
And it is Croc making his move because we've been wondering what he's doing. We ended the last issue with him looking at the school, so clearly he's going to do something there. Dick's getting a little bit more violent. He's getting, he's sort of, the darkness is taking a hold of him, and he's kind of becoming, I guess, what he thinks Batman wants him to be.
He's becoming more Batman.
Yeah,
right.
In many ways. So he's beating up a thug in the sewers. They're looking for Croc. Batman has to sort of pull him back when he's going a little too far, which leads to the next day where Alfred's washing the blood off of his clothes. And this is actually one of my favorite scenes in the whole issue because Alfred's basically, so Dick says, "Oh, I'm going to skip school today because we've got important detective work to do." Blah 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 with Croc, and Alfred says, "No, I think you should definitely go to school. Isn't that right, Master Bruce?" And Bruce does not give him the answer that Alfred was looking for. He says, "Nah, the school's not important. Yeah, you should stay home and do Robin work."
More important than anything they're teaching him at that stupid school.
Yeah.
And Bruce does fight with them for a couple of lines. He says, "No, he's not normal, Alfred. He's special." And then Alfred throws the shirt in his face and says he can be special after school, and sort of puts him in his place. And then I love that Bruce just turns to Dick and goes, "Get ready for school." He's like, "Nope, Alfred won that fight."
Alfred
Turns on a
essentially
dime.
pulled rank.
Yeah. Alfred turned into the father figure, Bruce's father figure specifically, in this moment. So it was just a really sweet scene. It kind of gets them in a way that
Alfred has been fantastic in this book.
Yes, it was really, really good. Dick tells some kid to piss off when he tries to ask him to play D&D.
That's such a heartbreaking scene because they are reaching out to him and they want to be his friend, but he is so shut in, right, to this mindset that he turns them down. I was like, oh man, just go play D&D.
The kid is a bit pushy.
No,
Dick's like, nah. He goes, nah, thanks, but I can't. So by the time Dick's going, no, at the end, you're really stern and you're firm and no, I'm not interested. And you're meant to feel bad for this other kid. You did keep pushing him. He said no.
No, but I get it.
They kept pushing him.
They could feel.
All he did was offer, "Oh, well, if the day's the problem," because he says we play on Wednesdays. Right. I mean, if the day's the problem, we could move. That's literally all he says. That's not being pushy.
Yeah, no. They're trying to accommodate him because they could tell that he needs friends, and they're trying to invite him into the friend group.
I don't know. I've felt this with I said, you say no. You polite. You make no. I'm good. Oh well, it's like no. Just I said no. God damn it.
But I could also read it as that Dick, as he's so emo right now, right? He's so wrapped up in his own. That's not how he answered. Yeah. It was just, the no thanks, and then he just got irritated because he knows what they're trying to do.
The phrasing though is important here because he didn't say no. He said I can't. So the response, well, if it's the day that's the problem, that's a perfectly valid response to I can't because that makes it sound like there's a reason why he just can't do it.
Right.
Well, he didn't say I can't on Wednesdays. He just said no, I can't.
Right. So the kid's trying.
He doesn't have to. He's just said it's on Wednesdays, and then he responds with I can't.
And it's not from out of anywhere. He noticed to the drawing of Killer Croc that he thought was a dragon for D&D. So he's thinking this is a kid that's also into the same stuff, and but I just thought this scene was heartbreaking in the best way. This is where Lemire knows how to play me like a fiddle.
Oh yeah.
So
Croc comes over the school intercom. He's got the principal by the throat. It says, "Little Robin, show yourself, or I'm going to start breaking people, starting with this guy."
I've had school principals when I was in school that if this had happened, Robin definitely would have waited a little.
I think the real threat is Croc goes, "Well, I'll tell everyone what your real name is."
Yes. Yeah.
I just thought that was funny. The principal that, pop culture is oh, no one likes the principal, right? So just the idea of the kids waiting to see if Robin's going to show up and seeing how far it's going to take. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, so he makes everyone get out by basically pretending there's a bomb somewhere, so they all flee. And he puts a scarf over his face to hide his identity when he goes to see Croc and tries to fight him. Batman comes in. Clearly Batman's heard what's going on quick enough. He comes smashing in the window, but Croc gets the better of him and leaves with him. So he's kidnapped Batman, and Dick goes home. Alfred's not prepared for all this, and Dick's like, "No, I need to go and save him. I need to be his partner. I can't fail him. I can't lose him too. Not like them, talking about his parents." So there's this, and to be fair, it's not even just he's making that connection. Croc is, especially in the following scenes, is directly saying, "I'm going to make you lose him, just like you lost your parents." He's all out for the poetic repetition, if you will. So Alfred says, "You have to do this alone," and Dick's like, he works alone, so can I. He's like, "Well, no, he doesn't work alone. He found you." And kind of makes this point clear. So yeah, we have the big showdown at Haley's Circus. What's left of it? With Dick out in costume.
I'm not sure how much I love, the backstory in this book with Croc being so tied to Haley's Circus in this way.
I don't mind that. I don't like his motivation that, that Dick got to be happy there and he was miserable. And I really thought this was going to be like an outcast reaching out until he started cracking the principal. Like, so, Lemire swerved me there. However, I do like how Robin comes across here, and finds who he really is through this. But yeah, this was like a hard left turn with what I was expecting Croc to do, just because it was so like up through the first 2 issues, we didn't know how Croc was going to respond to seeing Robin, because he was almost a sympathetic figure, like him in that tank, So, but yeah.
Yeah, obviously it's not in continuity, it's its own thing, so I don't necessarily mind it being tied to Haley's Circus. I would say that his motivation that he just wants to kill Robin and like make him suffer is a bit simpler than maybe I was expecting, based on the build-up.
It just feels a little bit, I didn't like your parents because they were the star attraction and you were part of this happy family, and even though you suffered and you were clearly in pain when they died, I want you to suffer more because I was treated like shit, even though it doesn't seem like Dick ever treated him particularly well. It didn't treat him particularly well, I don't think.
It's almost Snape syndrome from Potter, that I hated your father so much, I'm going to take everything out on you.
It kind of is. And
right?
Yeah. I don't love it. Like I say, I would hate this more if this was in continuity. As it is, I'm just like, okay.
Right. Again, it feels like a hard left turn. If we had gotten a little bit more of this backstory with everybody ignoring Croc and only caring about the Flying Graysons, and him having that sense of jealousy, like festering as he, as everybody walked past the fish boy, I could get it, but this again just seemed like Croc's got to be a villain now, and we took it, and again that's fine because what Dick learns about himself in saving Bruce, I really do like. Again, also it's another Potter thing where he goes and sees, it's very, very Potter.
Where he sees what?
Where he goes under the water and he's about to give up, and then he sees the people in the void, right?
I can see that. Yeah.
Little.
Let's stop bringing up trash, okay? I think that we can move on from.
No, we're again. We already talked about Avatar, Pete. We're talking about Potter.
Avatar is better than every Harry Potter movie. I'm just putting that out there.
I think so. It's definitely not better than Prisoner of Azkaban.
Not a chance.
Not a chance. That is the shining jewel of those movies.
It is maybe better than Goblet of Fire, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Certainly more cohesive than Goblet.
It's better than all the new Star Wars movies as well.
Than Goblet,
just, while I'm on the subject, it's better than all the recent Star Wars movies too.
Anyways, Robin and Batman.
Oh, and Lord of the Rings. That's another thing Avatar's better than. So
this issue's better than Avatar.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
Better than Avatar is such a low bar.
It's the most fine movie in the last 20 years.
Yeah, I know.
Fine. I don't understand. It's just fine.
All right. Anyways, let's get to going.
Well, what else would cut deep? Avatar is better than Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Hey now,
see,
them are fighting words.
You think this is cutting deep, but because I know how mediocre Avatar is, it's fine. It doesn't bother me. I'm very secure in that assertion.
I disagree that Avatar is mediocre, but that's fine.
You can be wrong about things.
That's just fine, and you can be wrong thinking Scott Pilgrim's not just hipster trash. So
no, we've been over this. You don't understand what a hipster is, Pete. That's not hipster. Now, Gordon Gideon Graves, maybe king of hipsters. Scott Pilgrim, as a concept, is not. Anyways, Robin and Batman.
Hipster, as far as I'm concerned. So, yes, Batman says some really nice words as he's hanging upside down. He's been dangled above a tank that's been filled with water. That will drown him if Dick can't get him out of the chains and that stuff quick enough. But he has to fight Croc. Croc shows up and we get some fighting, and sure enough, Dick is able to, after his moment, of course, where he almost dies and kind of catches a glimpse of his parents in the water, and they say, open your eyes, Robin, and
Loves to play to his strengths and go in the air.
Yeah. I mean, because obviously this, he talks a lot about darkness in this issue in his narration, and the idea of being, he doesn't have to be the darkness, he can be the light, and kind of be something else. And there's some really nice sequences here as he's like jumping and flying and kicking him in the face and all that stuff. And sure enough, he knocks him out, and he's able to cut Batman down. And there's a really nice couple of panels here, the full page spread of Batman hugging Dick, and saying he's a good boy. The idea that like, I know I've been a dick, because that was like one of the things he said before the fight is like like no matter what I've said, no matter what I've done, you're good. Like he kind of really emphasizes that point. And this encourages Dick to invite the boys over for some Dungeons and Dragons, which Alfred facilitates with some refreshments. And it sets up that he's now going to be his own hero. He's going to be the light. He can be with Batman, but of course the last couple of pages also set up that he can have other things, and we set up last issue, of course, that he's met the other Teen Titans, and sure enough, this is them forming effectively.
Yeah, you see, even before you get to the group of them, in the side of his notebook, he's got Teen Titan logos figured out. He's got he's
the Nightwing.
Yeah, planning his Nightwing logo. He has, of course,
there's a part,
Super S, because what child doesn't?
Right. But I also liked that earlier that when he's deciding he needs to be more like Batman, he's like, Robin's dumb, Robin's too bright. I need, like Nightwing, that's a better name. And he talks about how he'll have to use that later. So I also like that. Like that's just a part of him,
I mean, this story has been a really nice story about like early days Robin, and like him. I mean, it's kind of an origin story. It kind of obviously skips the origin part, but it's mostly an origin story in that it's like him really kind of discovering who he is as Robin.
Yeah,
and I think everything with Alfred and the sort of the clashing of parenting styles and in ways that there is like a nice bit of story here for Bruce as well, where he kind of has a bit of an arc as well between the issues, and ultimately accepting that he needs to encourage Dick in a way that's different. And it's almost like, Batman defaulted to this really sort of tough love, like harsh, I'm training you as a Batman style attitude, but learned along the way that that's not going to work, because that's not how Alfred treated him. He
had that compassion, and Bruce had to realize you can't make another you.
Yeah.
You're the only Bruce Wayne, and you got to let Dick Grayson be himself.
And Bruce isn't the way Bruce is because someone else like pummeled it into him. Right. He's who he is because it's him. So it's the accepting that he has to encourage Dick in a different way.
And and you can see those lessons through the Batman mythos when Dick teams up with Damian as Batman and Robin. And that he's letting Damian be who Damian needs to be. And he's the more forceful of the characters.
A sniveling little shit, I think you may say.
Yeah, but but Dick lets him do that. It's just you can't kill people, So, and he calls him Grayson constantly, and he just lets him be, and it feels like here that started when Bruce finally let him be Robin. But it was very good. I mean, sometimes I felt like Batman came off as as the GD Batman. Like he's very stern.
A little bit.
And, but I do like that it breaks at the end, and he learns a lesson as well.
I like the idea that that's how Dick sees him.
That's what I was going to say.
It's more just that he's this intimidating figure. He doesn't know him yet.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I was going to say. Is I think this is just how Dick sees him, because he is this imposing figure. Not so much that if we were looking at if we told this story from Bruce's perspective, he wouldn't probably feel that way.
Yeah.
I think this is probably the weakest issue of the three for me. But it sticks the landing in making its point. I just think, it's the least exciting of the three issues. I wasn't super keen on some of the Croc stuff, but I do think it nails the ending of thematic point of what the story is, and that's kind of the most important thing.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Croc's like ultimate goal is the only thing that feels a little off to me, just because it feels a bit simpler. And I think that's just for the sake of time, because you only have this issue to do it in, really, because it was so just we're teasing that he's recognized him, and then we're teasing that he's found where Robin is, but that we're not really getting into the nitty gritty of why Croc's looking for him or what his intentions are until this issue. But that atmosphere is still there. The almost childlike, dreamlike quality that Dustin Nguyen kind of brings to the table, and why he's good for a story that focuses on a Robin and not necessarily a Batman story in and of itself. Yeah. Not that he's not done it in the past, because he has, but
yeah, just that watercolor really lends itself to Robin.
Yeah,
it does.
So it's good stuff. All right, Matt, what are you giving Robin and Batman issue 3?
I'm giving it an 8.
Connor?
Yeah, I think I'll just about give it the 8. I think Wynn's art pulls it up to the 8 as opposed to just being the 7.5.
Yeah, I think I'm happy to give it the 8 as well. So there you go. It's Robin and Batman, issue 3. And then the final new book of the week is Batman Urban Legends, with many creators, which I'm sure you'll fill me in on.
Yeah. Well,
so
I'll pull up the table of contents, and we'll go with this first story, which is Batman Zatanna in Bound to Our Will, part 1 of 6. Oh man, I was really gonna try to make Pete say the artist's name.
I was gonna say on the second story, it's also a hard name, but I know
I can do that.
I know what they're often credited as well. So I could have got you a nice easy out on that one.
Yeah.
This very Eastern European looking one. Nope. You're on your own on that one. This is Vita Ayala is the writer.
Yeah, Vita Ayala is the writer, and Nicola. Hold on, I'm gonna look this up
because this is a mouthful of Eastern European sounds.
Yeah. Got a lot of weird marks over letters that in
accents
my language
over about half the letters. Yeah.
We messed with Sejic for a long time before we finally got it. Let's see how to pronounce. This is riveting for the audio people.
It is. Pete could have jumped in and offered an attempt.
There's no.
I'm not looking at it. I don't know what the name is.
You could have gone on ComiXology.
Yeah.
Oh my. Okay, you know what? Fine. I'll go on to
look. Oh, that's all. They're all listen ones. I need it written phonetically. Yeah.
It's something.
Okay.
We'll talk about the story.
So here we go. I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
Right. Nicolo Sismezja.
No, the one that I just listened to, you're not far off. Sismezja.
If in doubt, just make a noise and sound confident. That's the rule.
Right. So
you rarely sound confident when saying names.
I will say that the art is. I do like the art here. It's
very cartoony.
It's kind of. It's very similar to the to Corona for Batgirls.
Kind of blocky, lots of straight lines.
Yeah. But it starts here with a guy running, trying to hop a fence. Can't make it over, so he hides in a dumpster. But the guy's chasing him. It seems like he stole some money. But he left a piece of his pants on the fence to try to lure them off, and comes out of the dumpster after a while, thinks that he's in the clear, and someone with this dog shows up, and we lifts him up out of the garbage can,
and just takes him. And
yeah,
I don't know who this woman is with this.
It's like a doctor. It's very Dr. Savannah-esque, with the type of tunic they're wearing and glasses with a veil.
Yeah, it's an interesting design.
Yeah, but we get to the Hall of Justice, and we get that Zatanna and Batman are there. And
the thing every few years, the two of them disappear off together, and then when they get back, they can't look at each other, and it's a bit awkward. And Clark's like,
Clark
come on,
Clark
guys.
questions Bruce on it, and it's kind of like, look, I know you guys are both adults, but just know, you know,
Don't let this compromise communication between the teams.
right, you know, and so basically it was the shovel talk, you know. But we cut to their past where a young Bruce and young Zatanna are doing some kind of ritual, but you can tell like they have like that young love infatuation with one another.
Yeah, this is one of those things. I've always been open to this kind of
Mhm.
history between the two of them. That some comics have played with, some haven't, obviously. But you know, it's. I think it's been a thing often enough now that people are kind of accept that it. They're not mad about it.
And so, well, of course, if Bruce is looking to, you know, get involved with magic, of course you're going to look for Zatara. And while he's there, he might hit it off with the younger daughter.
That was part of Tynan's tech run as well, right?
I believe so. There was like a two
or three issue thing in that.
Yeah, they did. But basically, they did the spell together where they can share a mind, and it's basically like telepathy. They know what each other's thinking, but it causes almost the storm of.
I really like the lettering effect of for the thoughts. They've got obviously this purple bubble, which is probably more of a Zatanna color than Bruce, but
right.
The idea that they both share the same bubble as well. It's not like narration where characters have their different ones. There's no different fonts.
Right.
The different characters. It's just they've got this one thing to show it's the same.
Right. And so it looks like this whatever comes out of the storm hits them, and it just shows through the eras of them showing back up to try to contain this. And so you know we get what looks like a League of Shadows Bruce with the traditional
I kind of love
stage musician. Yeah, I want that story. And give me that era. And then we get the more Justice League-y Blue Cowl Batman with the mystic, if you will, Zatanna. And then more of the modern. She's in the top hat. Not so much fishnet.
Bruce is in an oval though, which tells us it's not super recent.
No. But just basically how they are bound to our will. And so they go off on this together.
And they're like, I've got a plan.
And you can tell that Zatanna's just over being around Bruce. Just, whatever it is. So it's a very awkward plane ride to wherever they're going. And they keep stepping on each other's words, and she gets mad that, of course, he goes first and says that they have some work to do. And that, we can't just keep doing this. And they show up and it looks like a wasteland. But the serene forest that they went to is younger, we'll say older teens. Yeah, what was once a nice forest, just yellow skies and nothing left of, but like charred stumps.
Yeah, and they talk about how they think the way to fix this is, her new plan is they've got to sever the connection. That's still there between them.
Right. And that, but you can kind of feel like Bruce doesn't necessarily agree with that because you feel like he does like that connection. It is a part of who they were. And so they go and perform the ritual again, this time in their modern attire. And it cuts back to the past. And it looks like they're sealing this riff and they're speaking in Latin. And it looks like they're successful until they're on the ground and this evil scientist lady shows back up.
You can tell from the jacket it's the same person as the start.
And it says, "You really made this too easy. I didn't need to tell you that no use in what ifs is there now." Bruce, of course, tries to cover Zatanna because, of course, it's Bruce. And it cuts to a bunch of different magic users. So you have Fate, you have Xanadu, you have Cersei, and you have Constantine, all reacting to this similar majestic. It's the same colors as that storm that they'd conjured. Yeah. And it looks like the whatever this was has gotten to.
Yeah, it seems to have spread. It's affecting. It's seemingly affecting all of the magic users, and I don't know what exactly it is. I don't know what exactly it's doing to affect the others at the moment. But it's interesting enough, and it is a pretty solid start to the story. I'm always a sucker for Zatanna anyway. Right. I like Zatanna and Bruce stories in general. I think they tend to be fun.
Yep.
And I think this is, again, just another, like a nice little fun, it's 6-part. This is probably about the size of a regular issue, give or take.
Give or take, yeah.
And it feels like this is going to be a solid, essentially a 6-part mini that.
Right. And it's well paced throughout too. Like a lot of time in between on that plane ride. You can tell they spend a lot of it in silence and whatnot. But yeah, no, I too love when Zatanna and Bruce team up, and it's just like anytime Batman deals with magic, because he's such, the man of science, if you will.
Yeah, but again, it's one of those things where he's never denied magic. He's scared of it and wary of it because it's powerful, but it's like it definitely exists. There's no
it creates
for Bruce.
Creates a good balance between them. And so
I'm really just, I love a good mini set in the magic side of DCU.
Yeah.
We don't get enough of them these days.
No.
So yeah, I'm all for this. What is essentially a 6-part mini in this book? Give me more.
Pretty good. Are we rating these individually, Connor?
Sure, why not?
Give this.
I'll give it like an 8.
Yeah, me too. I don't like when we line up, but I had that.
For the record, I will need an overall number for the whole book when you're done.
Well,
yeah, of course you will.
Okay, so the next story is The White Witch. It's called Stigma by Ram B and Anand Radhakrishnan on art.
Often I've seen creators just Anand RK.
Okay.
And then with John Pearson on colours and Bidker on letters as well. I only mention that because this is the exact team of Blue and Green, which was the graphic novel that this team did.
So no wonder you were so excited for this.
Yeah, because I love that book. That was a jazz horror book that I just loved. So you're telling me that exact team is all back together doing a White Witch story?
Well, and this story is very ethereal, so I don't know if that book was ethereal.
Yeah.
This is very much that we get kind of the origin of White Witch in a way, at least the White Witch that we know of.
Yeah, because obviously we've seen there's all these White Witch clones. We knew that from Kelm. This story is very, it's got a little bit Winter Soldier, a little bit of like Bloodshot, I guess, kind of vibes to it, right?
A little Prestige.
Yeah.
There. But yeah, so we find out she was, I'm going to guess, India or Pakistan. I'm not too sure. I don't want to confuse them.
Rambee's, heritage. I'm gonna go with Indian. Yeah.
Yeah, she's part of a special forces group, and she's like super tough. And that they had selected her for a special program, but it leads us up into this that Saint puts her out on a mission. So how she talks about how every time she wakes up, she knows that there's speakers. She hears what her target is, and then she gets ready. She knows what she has to do. And so she goes to this compound and just wreck shop. I mean, it's very Winter Soldier. Finds her target, takes them out, goes back. But as she's taking out this target, it gives her a memory of her time before all this. And this is where her origin, that during a training exercise for this special, you would say special forces program, she takes out the entire, group.
Yeah, there's just like a bunch of them lying on the ground, terrified of her.
I find out that her name is Cadet Sina, and it's Rhea Sina.
Yeah.
And that basically she's so angry, and that she, it was an honor for her to join this, but, she can't be recommended because she just wiped them all out. So they discharge her, and it leaves her in this, wandering state for a bit. And she runs into this guy named Koida, but everything's kind of a haze. That you're getting that these are kind of half mememories.
And it makes you question, I don't know how reliable these are. This is what she thinks is her past. The question is this the past that they don't want her to remember that she's remembering anyway, or is this a past that they do want her to remember and it's not actually the truth?
It's very Weapon X Wolverine kind of deals, where if these are implanted memories or not. So he says that he's X whatever RAW is. I'm sure that's the unit she was trying to join. And that this is a one-time offer. Do you want in? And then it gets back to her, talking to Simon Saint.
There's some really interesting things again playing with the memory. She's like, she doesn't remember if she actually went with him and got in.
Right.
Like we assume yes, because we assume that's how that leads to this. But maybe it doesn't. Maybe she didn't. Maybe that's
right. Well, and he says too, he collects dangerous things. So he's been on to her. So it was only a matter of time before he's going to approach her, right? And he gets to Simon Saint, and she's debriefing. You know, she sees him, but she calls him the man without eyes. But she knows his voice and knows his orders above all. And so, you know, basically there was no witnesses. She did her job perfect. And as you see behind her, it's a bunch of tanks with more of her in there.
Like we saw in Catwoman, where they had like just, you know, racks of them.
And that he goes, I'm sorry, it pains me to do this, but this victory, the success, they're both mine. And he shoots her in the head, and then they boot up what seems like another one.
Yeah, it starts again, because the first thing I think we see in this issue is her in the tank saying, "I awake." And that is the first line. And this is what happens again. You know, so this version 8, as we know, is shot. And then the next page, it's, you know, "I awake." And we assume version 9, but maybe there's more we didn't see. It's possible.
You know, so they give her the new mission, and now she's the sniper in the Atacama Desert on 6 miles from the Argentinian border. Looks like she's hunting people that are in refuge because they're going to the Wayne Foundation. They're going to help once they get to wherever they're going, which targets another memory that she knows the name Wayne. And then it takes her to a memory where she's with what's his name?
She's in the mountains. There's a blizzard. It's
Queta. Yeah. And it looks like they're coming up on Nanda Parbat. I know it's not. I know it's probably just a city up in the deep mountains, but there's a mystical quality to it. And
inside is Ghostmaker and Bruce. Bruce, you know, obviously this is during the years when they were training together as, you know, they were well established at this point. And it's like, okay, so, you know, White Witch met them, presumably did some training with them, or a version of her did, pre-cloning.
The original.
It's all very hazy. But again, it has this ethereal quality. It's how trustworthy is this? It's hard to say. Well,
and the last panel is Bruce reaching out her hand to shake your hand, introducing himself, and says that, you know, Wayne, that face I must remember. And as she's doing this, it's kind of digitizing out, you know?
Yeah, he's kind of distorting, and it's overlaying that hex pattern that's on the White Witch's mask. It's really unique, like this kind of effect. No, I was a big fan. I thought that just the mystery of her origin is kind of intriguing. I didn't know I needed it, but I'm kind of into it. I really like her being used for this program. Just, you know, the user, and instead of just wiping her memories, it's just straight up, no, we'll just kill her and use the next clone. Right.
And that we saw them using multiple clones in Catwoman, right? Like they sent multiple at one time, which they'd never done before. This just makes me wonder where the story would have come out if it wasn't for this book.
I don't know if it would have done. And that,
right?
Yeah. And then there's also the question of, is she sharing memory? Because obviously she has some sort of mental abilities, because it's psionics test as well.
Right.
Is she sharing memories across versions? Because when she wakes up as version potentially 9, she remembers the speakers that are talking, and she remembers Simon Saint. Is she remembering them from previous versions of, like, you know, from doing previous missions, or is she just remembering them from the very first time? I don't know how much there is that cross building going on, but because we're dealing with psionics, it's possible that the memories are transferring across clones, and they are building up over time, which would be very interesting to see it take that direction, and kind of what that will lead to at the end.
Right, and we know what Ram V's take on generational trauma and whatnot through Swamp Thing. It seems that there's a tie here to this character as well. That what's going to be too much for her to finally take. But yeah, it seems like there was a whole backstory he didn't want to go to waste. So
no, it seems it's well thought out and well constructed, as opposed to just this is throwaway backstory.
Right, and she just phases. You know, and is that another thing too? Is that a specialty of each of the different clones? Does each clone have a specialty?
I remember that was something we discussed at the time. I don't think we ever really got a firm answer for.
No, but very, very good. I'm going to give this story by itself a 9 between the art and the storytelling.
Yeah, I am as well, actually. And I'll say again, if you enjoyed this story, you know, particularly, you know, the art, the tone, maybe look at getting Blue and Green. It's a good read. It's obviously it's not relate to DC in the same way. It's, you know, this jazz horror story,
Mhm.
but tonally it shares a lot of identity with this story.
Yeah, and those are the ones you read. You didn't read the Eternity story.
No, I
I
kind of read those two, and I was like, do you know what? I've got what I want out of the next two. They won't grab me. I looked at
yeah.
them, but
So I skipped it. Essentially, it's Kid Eternity. I kind of thumbed through it as I was getting, because I wasn't not going to read the Mark Russell story, which is Batman and Ace the Bat Hound.
I will say again, skimming.
Yeah.
Gotham has a little Leningrad.
I guess they do now.
Why not?
Yeah. But it's called The Trap, and it's Mark Russell, Carl Mostert, writer and artist. But yeah, this is a story of Ace, who I believe it was Tom King introduced this version of. Bruce found him in one of Joker's hideouts where he was, you know, just bred to be an attack dog. And over time, you know, gave this dog compassion, and now he's turned into the Bat Hound. And this is done like, I don't remember Mark Russell taking on Batman, so I wasn't sure how well the Mark Russell tone would be in a Batman focus book, but it's nailed here. Like it carries over, you know, that sense of humor and kind of not satire, but there's definitely levels to this book. But it starts with Bruce and Ace going into Little Leningrad to basically stop a human trafficking plot. And when Bruce gets there, he says, "We'll locate them by smell because they can't use the thermal imaging." And they get in there, and Ace just starts tearing him up. Like he's full on, like military trained dog, and he's just looking to be, you know, a good boy for Bruce, because Bruce gave him the second chance. And one of the guys that get stopped because one of them launches Bruce ends up causing making one of the stairways collapse with what looks like a grapple bomb. As one of the guys is laying there, Ace grabs him, so he can't get up, and he starts going, you know, like he's confused, like by a bat dog. And Bruce jumps on the guy and is like, "Don't call him that. He thinks you're saying bad dog." And so this is why he's a bat hound, because he doesn't want Ace to think he's bad. So he sends Ace to go find these victims, and we see him doing a lot of cool, you know, protector dog stuff. He's hopping up onto the statue, up into the rafters. Bruce is taking out all the armed villains. Bruce gets taken out by another explosion, and a guy has a flamethrower. And right as he's about to torch Bruce, Ace comes down, gets told he's a good boy. And then we get to the whole backstory that I brought up of Bruce showing him compassion and training him that, you know, he's a good boy. Bruce finds out that it's Strange, Hugo Strange, in with this plan, and he's got an explosive vest on, and that, you know, it's his party. He lured him out here, and that that I'm trying to get to that page because it breaks up, but that he's covered in C4, and he goes, "Strange, how long have we known each other? I can't believe you have the nerve. You're not going to kill us both." And he goes, you know, he's like, "No, but, you know, you do know me too well. I never had the nerve before because I have something now that I didn't before. And you know, when I look down deep in myself, you know what I found?" And he says stage 4 cancer and hits the detonator. It looks like this is the end of Hugo Strange for this story. As Bruce is dealing with Strange, Ace gets down into the kitchen, and a very funny scene, flips over a bowl onto himself to get into where it's like one of the big giant mixing bowls to infiltrate the kidnappers. And he goes to start freeing the people that are being trafficked, and turns out they were decoys, and that whoever has this plan, it was to capture Batman, and they were just using Strange basically as bait. They tase Ace because, you know, he just took out 2 armed soldiers, but they don't want to kill Ace because he has some value. But they go to get Bruce because that's what they're selling, is basically the identity of Batman. And that one of them goes to lift Bruce's cowl up, and they go, "No, if you know who he is, that makes him less valuable, which means they'll take you out because, whoever knows who Batman is, that's what's worth the money. So they bag up Batman, throw him in a helicopter, and then they take Ace to basically where supervillains get all their pets. So there's someone named Fernando, spelled with F-U-R, and it says extermination. There's a giant bear named Ursa who's there for retraining, and now Bathound who's there for retraining. And it seems like they're going to sell him back to the Joker, where of course Ace doesn't want to go back to. And it teases with the next Super Pets. Carl Moser does the art, and the breakdowns are really well. The faces are very. Mostert has a very Frank Quitely style, which I'm not a big fan of. When it comes to kind of the details on the faces, everything has a little bit extra detail that I don't think is quite necessary. But I mean, again, that comes down to taste. But all the scenes with Ace going through, everything is very kinetic. And it's like heartbreaking when you see him get tased by who he thought was saving. It's just like a misplaced trust. But yeah, no, this is a very good story. And, when talking to Connor on who was going to read this, I figured Pete was going to.
I thought he was as well. In fact, just yesterday he said he was going to be reading it.
Right. So
I was planning on it.
I was wary. My overall point was I was wary because we all know how I feel about Mark Russell. I didn't want to have to start reading something now that I have to keep picking up. And now between Zatanna, White Witch, and now this Ace story, I'm stuck for at least the next 6 issues. Unless this comes out on a busy week, I'm just gonna have to skip.
Yeah, I definitely want to read the White Witch story for sure. And so I'm kind of locked in for at least 3.
Right.
Probably the other 3 after that for the rest of the Zatanna story as well, I would assume, based off of this first one. But like I say, if it comes out on a busy week, this is a lot of pages to add on to that, and you can't guarantee that.
No. So I'll give that last story an 8.5. So I'm going to average these out now, Pete.
Go on.
I just split the difference on my 2, so it's an 8.5 for me.
Right.
Okay, 8.5 for Connor.
So averaging this out, I don't like that score because it gave me a 6.5. Because I have to put that 0 in there for Kid Eternity.
No, you don't. You didn't.
I don't, though.
Just ignore that.
Yeah, that's just dragging it down. Just mostly average the other 3.
Yeah, hold on. I had an 8 plus a 9 plus an 8.5.
It's an 8.5.
Yep, that will go 8.5. Thank you for doing the math, Connor. I'm not
good at math. 8 and 9, and then an 8.5. So of course it's an 8.5.
Yeah. There you go.
All right. Wonderful. Well, one last thing then before we get to the final segment, and that is Connor's Patreon book. Every month at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, you can make myself a Connor read a book at one of the higher tiers. Connor's going to talk about Undiscovered Country, issue 17.
Yep, still the same team as always. It's as is usually the case on independent books. Obviously, there's the 2 plot lines. Once again, the past and the present, the flashbacks. This time, still focusing on Ace and a little bit with Val. They have a meeting the night before they go off on the mission. When I say meeting, I don't mean like a pre-planned meeting. More just they're both wandering the ship at night, and they bump into each other and they talk about what this place is. They're on a forever ship, and it's this kind of idea of a myth of this self-sustaining ship. Like, it grows all its own food. It creates all its own fuel. The idea is that no matter what happens, they don't have to dock to, refuel, restock on anything. There's just, they're good. And that's the story of them. And then Val goes, that's the story. But the truth is that's not what they're there for. Sure, it's a nice idea. But the reality is they're just for rich people, so that when all the bombs and all the land's ruined, when climate change washes all the land away, they're good. They don't need anything else. They can still survive, and they'll live on for another day. That's what's important to them. It doesn't matter what the sales pitch is. It's just that's what it is. The reality is they're for rich people and nothing else. Doesn't matter how they sell it to everyone else. And it kind of the point of their meeting at the end is, the idea of what really matters, the truth or the story. Because Ace, he is the journalist, and he's like, I tell the story, I'm a storyteller, and there's maybe rival storytellers that tell their story instead. But at the end of the day, I care about the truth, and the story I tell is the truth, so to speak. But again, that is it comes down to a matter of perspective. The present day, very fast-paced stuff. We kind of kicked off with Ace trying to use the creation engine, whatever the name that they had for it was. The big music machine wants it to make a new song for it. But as they're doing this is when they get attacked by all the ships. The Crossroads Devil, kind of came up with all the ships and started bombing them. That was the cliffhanger of last issue. And Crossroads Devil comes ashore and is like, "Hey, I'll cut you a deal," because that's kind of his whole shtick, right? Is he cuts deals with people? Is you just stay here, just instead of doing whatever you're gonna do, instead of walking through the zones, instead of doing that, use the machine and just recreate all these. Recreate the history of America, all its greatest legends. Recreate them here and now for me, so that this zone will be populated again. And there's some debate as to well, what do they get out of this? Is there a catch? And the goes, no, that's fine. There's no catch. You create all this for me, and then you use the machine for yourself. Recreate the smartest minds in all of history, and they'll build you a cure. You don't need to traverse through the zones and finish your journey. You can just end here, take the easy way out, and just create one. And they're very strongly considering this. And again, they're debating, can he be trusted? And kind of come down to, well, yeah, the Crossroads, he never lies. The idea that there's usually a catch, there's usually an angle that you don't see. Or you have to sell your soul, but you do get what you ask for with him. So they're like, well, maybe this is worth it. But Ace doesn't play by the rules. At the end, what he does is goes, yeah, I'll bring life to this place, but it's not going to be the life that you want. It's not going to be all the legends of history that you want. He creates new life, but he goes, the Devil's like, you haven't got enough of you to take us on. There's only like 5 of you or 6 of you. There's like an army of us. He's like, that's fine. I'll make more of us. And the last page is he's used the creation engine to create tons of versions of our group as like superheroes and soldiers and samurai, all sorts of various creations. And this plays into the idea that something in the flashback is America's its biggest cultural export wasn't anything specific. It was a legend. It was the idea of America. And ties into this here, to traverse to the next zone, they needed to create a new American masterpiece. And that is, I assume, kind of what he's done here by creating all of them. He's put imagined themselves as ultimate beings, like the highest they can be. It kind of boils down to the idea of the American, anyone could be president, right? The idea that anyone can reach the top. That is an extrapolation. This here is the extrapolation of that idea that, well, we can be, superheroes, that concept, but made literal with this creation engine into an army to fight back against Crossroads Devil, which I assume will be next issue, because that's the last issue of this arc. I'm assuming that'll be that fight, and then them moving on. And usually the arcs end with a tease of what the next zone's going to be. The Crossroads Devil told them that the next zone is just a black hole. There's nothing there. But maybe he lied. I don't know. That'll be really interesting. I'm looking forward to finding out. But no, it's another great issue. Very fast read, this, actually, because so much of it is just this kind of back and forth snappiness, this debate with the devil. And yeah, very looking forward to the end of this arc. It's probably my favorite arc so far. I hope it sticks the landing. I'll give it an 8.
Maybe the next arc will all be in a black void, just so that the artist doesn't have to do any backgrounds.
That would be a really interesting story if it was.
All right, so that'll take us out our favorite stuff of the week. So favorite panel / moment, favorite cover, favorite art, and then normally top 5, but this week it's basically just rank the new books you read because none of us read 5. So Matt, what's your panel / moment of the week?
It's from the Mark Russell, Carl Mostert story in goddamn Underground, right? No, yes. Tell's the name of that book. I always read the name.
Urban Legends.
Urban Legends. Why I always want to call it Gotham Underground? I don't know why. But it's the don't call him Bat Dog. He thinks he's a bad dog. That really moved me.
Okay, Car.
I'm going to go from Urban Legend as well. I'm going to go from the White Witch story. I'm going to go with the panel of I Awake the second time around. One, all the art, everything just is top tier on that panel throughout that whole story, but that panel in particular. And also because that was the moment where I was like, that's what this story's doing with this reset, and kind of all clicked together. It was kind of great.
All right. I think I'll probably go with some Detective Comics. I'll probably go with the moment the backup. The kid and Harleen. It's just such a well drawn moment, and how the vibe of like him not looking at her properly, and just that feeling is just really accurate. It's like it's just really well done. So I'll go with that moment. Not a big story beat by any means this time, or a big splashy page with dazzling art. Just a really simple thing, but good stuff. I also only had 3 comics to pick from, so that's all to go on.
Yeah, limited choice this week.
So yeah, cover of the week though. The main Batgirls cover is very good again, as it was with issue 1. And obviously Robin and Batman, the Albuquerque cover, I think in particular is quite nice. I'd probably just go with the main detective cover again. This might be a trend while these Rodriguez covers are going, but again, admittedly, it's only 3 books this week, so
Yeah.
Thank God for variants.
Because I didn't think this cover was as nice as last week's cover, but it's still probably my favorite of this week. So, Matt, what you got?
I'm trying to look. Oh, I'm maybe with the Batgirls 1 in 25. It's them making the Bat Angel in the snow, or the Bat Snow Angel. Cass and Steph.
Okay.
So I know that one.
Connor?
Yeah, I like all the ones that have been said. For me, it comes down to my second choice would have been the Albuquerque Robin and Batman, but I'm actually going to go with the detective variant, the Bermeo one.
Yeah, but here's it's hard to go wrong with the bit.
It's just great.
Yeah. All right. Best art of the week, Connor.
I think just for consistency's sake, I'm going to have to give it to Robin and Batman. Because I think the art in both the stories I liked in Urban Legends were really great. And if I was to narrow down to a specific story, it probably would have gone to the White Witch one. But because it's a book as a whole, I'll give it a win for Robin and Batman.
Okay. Matt?
I agree with everything Connor said, and I hate to say that, but it's a win.
Yeah, it probably is. Easier victory this week again with so few books, but
the only thing that's fair is at least Win has a shot of winning that on any week against any competition. Really, he's always in the running for that conversation, no matter if it's a light week or a busy week.
Yeah. All right, cool. Sorry, Matt. Go on, you go then. Rank the books.
All right. So number 1 is Robin and Batman. Number 2 would be Urban Legends. No, Detective. No. Yes, Urban Legends, then Detective, then Batgirls.
Connor?
I'll go Urban Legends, then Robin and Batman, then Detective.
Cool. I think I'll go Detective at number 1, number 2, Robin and Batman, number 3, Batgirls. There you go. Easy peasy. So I will tell you what is coming next week from DC Comics, and luckily
hopefully a little bit more.
It's a bit more than this week. So we have Detective Comics 1049 as expected. We got Nightwing 888. We got Wonder Woman 783. Superman Son of Kal-El issue 7. Catwoman 39, and that is the start of the new run. So that's a bit of a testing issue. We got Robin's issue 3, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow issue 7, Batman the Night issue 1. Is that the Zarski?
It is.
It is.
Oh, okay. Well, there's another thing to look forward to. Matt might force himself through Green Lantern issue 10.
Definitely will not. It's either Batman the Night or Green Lantern 10. So
Batman the Night.
Batman the Night.
Yeah.
Blue and Gold issue 5, Aquaman the Becoming issue 5, Batman v Bigsby, A Wolf in Gotham issue 5, Newbie in the Amazons issue 4, Black Manta issue 5, Suicide Squad King Shark issue 5, Wonder Woman Evolution issue 3, and Looney Tunes 264. That was a long list I just read. Obviously, the back half of that is a bunch of things that we haven't been covering.
I think between us, we've got 7 books.
That's not bad. That's a nice average week, I'd say. So, coolio. That is what's coming next week. I will take this time to thank our Patreon producers for the month. So thank you to Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Sharp, Board Now, Christopher Moy, and David Brown. You can be a producer at one of the higher tiers over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, but you can support us for as little as $1 per month over there. And at the $5 tier in particular, you get early access to the show. Whenever it's ready, late on the Saturday is when you'll get your hands on it. But go have a look and see if you want to support all the content and keep everything coming. You can, of course, also support us by liking, subscribing, dinging the bell on YouTube, or if you listen to the audio podcast, give us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts from. But that is that. And also get us on Twitter at DC Comics Podcast, of course, for updates, random retweets of news, and other bits and pieces. And typically, whenever we ask for questions or anything like that, we'll do it via Twitter, so you can access them there. So very good. So yeah, somehow we actually got close to 3 hours in this episode, which is actually a miracle and a feat of Matt's tangent.
I didn't tangent that bad. Also, we've been on much longer because we bullshitted for.
Yes, but the recording's almost at 3 hours.
I'm hungry now. That's what I was saying.
Is the important part, but yes. So there you go. But that's the show. That has been episode 288. Thank you very much for joining us once again. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.
Ratings are still stupid.